Chapter 980. As soon as these words came out, it was as if a bomb had been dropped, causing an uproar. What? Lu Ming is the successor of Emperor Liansong? How is that possible? Emperor Liansong has been missing for 3,000 years. Rumor has it that Emperor Liansong died overseas. 3,000 years have passed. How could Lu Ming be Emperor Liansong's successor? Could it be that Emperor Liansong is still alive? The crowd was in a state of shock, especially when someone suggested that Emperor Liansong was still alive. Emperor Liansong was the best inscriber in Eastern Barren Territory. If he was still alive, it would be an earth-shattering news. The situation of Eastern Barren Territory would change drastically. Emperor Di's eyes shone like two swords, piercing through the sky. His body was filled with a strong killing intent. Lu Ming, you're Emperor Liansong's disciple? Emperor Di said word by word, staring at Lu Ming coldly. Lu Ming looked at Emperor Di without fear. His hand glowed and a scroll appeared in his hand. He said, look at this." Emperor Di looked at the scroll in Lu Ming's hand and said coldly, "The Million Formation Image. It seems like you've really inherited Emperor Liansong's legacy." Everyone looked at the Million Formation Image and their hearts trembled. The Million Formation Image was Emperor Liansong's most powerful treasure. If Lu Ming had the Million Formation Image, he must be Emperor Liansong's successor. The elders and disciples of the Talisman Puppet sect were the most shocked. They looked at the Million Formation Image in Lu Ming's hand. Their eyes were filled with excitement and disbelief. The Million Formation Image. Huan Zhen, Wen Yuezhang, Bai Qi, Ji Mai and the others were all excited. They finally knew why the elders of the Talisman Puppet sect made Lu Ming a Zongzi candidate. It was because he was Emperor Liansong's successor. Master, is Ancestor Liansong still alive? Bai Qi asked Bai Shijin with a trembling voice. Bai Shijin let out a long sigh and said, "Martial Ancestor Liao Tsong will not come back." After saying this, Bai Shijin once again looked at Martial Emperor Di and said, Lu Ming is the successor of Ancestor Liao Tsong, the Zongzi of our Talisman Puppet sect. However, you have secretly harmed Ancestor Liao Tsong. Now you want us to hand Lu Ming over to you, is that possible? Rumble. These words were even more shocking. Like a thunderclap, they resounded in everyone's minds. Emperor Liao Tsong had been killed by Emperor Di. At this moment, not only were the people from the Talisman Puppet sect greatly shocked, even the disciples, elders, and utmost exalts from the other three powers, the Emperor Heavenly Divine Palace, the Heavenly Demon Valley, and the Heavenly Corpse sect were greatly shocked. In the past, almost everyone thought that Emperor Liansong had gone on an adventure overseas and died overseas. Because in the Divine Wilderness, after reaching the Martial Emperor realm, it was extremely difficult to increase one's cultivation level. For emperors, the Divine Wilderness was too small and the environment was too bad. It was simply not suitable for cultivation. If they wanted to increase their cultivation level, they would have to go overseas and find a bigger continent with better conditions to cultivate. In history, there were many emperors who went overseas to cultivate and adventure, but in the end, they died overseas. Everyone believed that this was the reason why Emperor Liao Tsong died at sea. They would never have thought that it was Martial Emperor Di who had secretly harmed him. In this way, the Talisman Puppet sect and Martial Emperor Di were mortal enemies. How could they hand Lu Ming over to Di? Liansong was really harmed by you? You are so scheming. What do you want to do? The Heavenly Demon Valley's Monster Emperor stood up and stared at Di with an unfriendly gaze. The Corpse Emperor's corpse chi was rolling, but he did not speak. Monster Emperor, you are meddling too much. Why do I need to explain my actions to you? Martial Emperor Di coldly glanced at the Monster Emperor. He was extremely domineering and did not give the Monster Emperor any face. Then, he turned to Lu Ming and glanced at Bai Shijin and the others. He said, "Since that is the case, the Talisman Puppet sect shall be destroyed." After saying this, Di turned around and strode away. He stepped into the teleportation vortex and disappeared. Lu Ming, I will let you live for now. Let's see how long you can live. The Wang clan leader looked coldly at Lu Ming and was about to leave. At this moment, A figure flew out from the Emperor Heaven Divine Palace and flew to the Talisman Puppet Sex area. It was Wang Haoxian. Bastard, what are you doing? Get back here. The Wang clan leader saw this scene and shouted loudly. If I return to the Wang clan, I will definitely be miserable. Why should I go back with you? Wang Haoxian said with a sullen face. Even if she died, she would not return to the Wang clan. She knew that if she returned to the Wang clan this time, she would definitely be miserable. Lu Ming took a few steps forward and came to Wang Haoxian's side. He said, "There is no need to go back. Come with me to the Talisman Puppet Sect." Bastard! You dare to betray the clan? The Wang clan leader shouted. Haha, Wang Shengtian, this girl will definitely not have a good ending if she goes back. Only a fool would go back with you. Yan Kuangtu burst out laughing and said, "My brother is really impressive. He even took away the genius of the Wang clan. Wang Shengtian, are you feeling good now?" Ha! Damn it! The Wang clan leader roared. His face was flushed red and he almost vomited blood. Bastard, how dare you betray the clan? Sooner or later, I will make you beg for death. Let's see who can protect you. The Wang clan leader shouted. He no longer had the face to stay and left in large strides, stepping into the teleportation vortex. Come, let's go back too. Bai Shijin and the others shouted. Immediately, the people of the Talisman Puppet Sect stepped into the teleportation vortex and returned to the Talisman Puppet Sect. The people of the Heavenly Corpse Sect and the Sky Demon Valley also left. The Battle of Providence had finally come to an end. Lu Ming stepped into the vortex. With a flash, he returned to the entrance of the Talisman Puppet Sect. As soon as he returned to the Talisman Puppet Sect, Lu Ming soared into the sky and saw a group of people not far away. Lu Ming was overjoyed and immediately flew over. Father, mother. Lu Ming shouted. Lu Ming's parents, Lu Yuntian, and Li Ping were among the group of people. In addition, the sect leader of the Mystic Essence Sword Sect, Lin Shui, and some elders and disciples of the Mystic Essence Sword Sect were also there. There were also Hua Qi, Pang Shi, and Lu Ming's two in-name disciples, Zhuang Shaoshan and Zhuang Xiaro. Previously, Lu Ming had secretly given the mountain and river diagram to Bai Shijin so that he could go to the Blazing Sun Empire and bring his parents and friends to the Talisman Puppet Sect. He knew that after the Battle of Providence, Martial Emperor Di would most likely cause trouble for him and would not let him go. It was too dangerous for his family and friends to be in the territory of the Emperor Heavenly Divine Palace. Lu Ming would only be at ease if he brought them to the Talisman Puppet Sect. A supreme being was traveling at full speed. In just 1 or 2 hours he had brought them to the Talisman Puppet Sect. Now Lu Ming was finally at ease. Swoosh! Before Lu Ming arrived, a figure rushed toward Lu Ming and landed on his shoulder. It was Dandan. Just now, Providence fell from the sky. Lu Ming, I saw that your parents obtained the most. Lu Ming, what is your ranking? Dandan asked. Lu Ming got the first place. Behind him, Bai Shijing, Yan Kuangtu, and the others stepped on the air and answered for Lu Ming. As expected, kid, not bad. You have some of my style back then. Chapter 981. Ming. At that moment, Lu Yuntian, Li Ping, and the rest saw Lu Ming and gathered around him. Father, mother, thank you for your hard work. Lu Ming said. Then he greeted Lin Shui, Hua Qi, and the rest. Greetings, master. Zhuang Shaoshan and Zhuang Xiao knelt down and bowed to Lu Ming. Get up. Let me see your cultivation. Lu Ming raised his hand slightly and the siblings were lifted up by a force. You've broken through to Martial King. Not bad. Lu Ming glanced at them and found that they had reached Martial King realm. Many people looked at Zhuang Shaoshan and Zhuang Xiao curiously. They did not expect the two of them to be Lu Ming's disciples. Then, the siblings bowed to Lu Yuntian and Li Ping. The two elders hurriedly helped them up. They were overjoyed. Since they were Lu Ming's disciples, they naturally treated them like their own children. Father, mother, let's talk as we walk. I'll arrange a place for you to stay. Lu Ming waved his hand and a majestic true origin spread out. A cloud seemed to appear under Lu Yuntian and the rest, lifting them off the ground and flying forward. Thousands of people were lifted up by Lu Ming's true origin and flying in the air. Lin Shui and the rest were shocked. They knew that Lu Ming's cultivation had exceeded their imagination and had reached a terrifying level. They chatted as they flew. They were not very fast. Bai Shijin, Du Songjue, and the other grand elders had already gone ahead to arrange a place for Lu Yuntian and the rest. On the way, Lu Yuntian, Lin Shui, Hua Qi, and the rest learned that Lu Ming had won first place in the Battle of Providence. Although they did not know what the Battle of Providence was, they were still shocked when they heard that Lu Ming had defeated the younger generation of Eastern Wilderness and stood at the peak of the younger generation. Compared to the vast Eastern Barren Territory, the Burning Sun Empire was too small. It was like a grain of sand thrown into the ocean. They couldn't even imagine how many geniuses there were in the Eastern Barren Territory and what level they had reached. But now, Lu Ming was standing at the top of all the geniuses. How could they not be shocked? He was secretly pleased with himself. Lu Ming was from the Burning Sun Empire. They didn't ask why Lu Ming brought them here. They knew that Lu Ming was doing it for their own good. They weren't reluctant to part with their properties. Here, all they could see were magnificent rivers and mountains. In some places, the spiritual qi of heaven and earth was unimaginably dense. Compared to this, the Burning Sun Empire was like a garbage dump. It couldn't be compared at all. And those experts, any one of them gave them an unfathomable feeling. Compared to the Burning Sun Empire, this place was much, much better. This was normal. The Liangyi Mountain was a famous paradise in the Eastern Barren Territory. It spanned tens of millions of miles and had countless paradises. Some of the Talisman Puppet Sect disciples didn't care about it, but in the eyes of Lin Shui, Hua Qi and the rest, it was a priceless paradise. Some people's eyes were already shining. How fast would they improve if they cultivated in such an environment? Lu Ming brought the group around. Soon, an elder came and said that their accommodations had been arranged. Lu Ming led the group and followed the elder. The other members of the Talisman Puppet Sect left one by one. Only Bai Qi, Shui, Fatty, Ruan Tingting and a few others followed. First, it was the residents of the Mystic Essence Sword Sect. It was a mountain range that stretched for thousands of miles. There were 7 huge peaks that pierced the sky. It was incomparably magnificent. Spiritual qi was faintly discernible and spiritual herbs were everywhere. It was like a paradise. Compared to the Mystic Essence Sword Sect, it was dozens or even hundreds of times better. Lin Shui and the rest were overjoyed. They kept thanking the elder of the Talisman Puppet Sect. The elder knew that these were Lu Ming's friends and relatives, and their relationship was extraordinary. Naturally, he didn't dare to say anything. Then, Lin Shui brought thousands of people from the Mystic Essence Sword Sect to stay. Of course, the Mystic Essence Sword Sect didn't only have these people. Those who didn't want to come weren't brought along. Those with low cultivation and talent were asked to leave. Those who were brought along were those with high cultivation and talent. Sect Master Lin, there are countless people in the Liangyi Mountain. Not all of them cultivate the inscription Dao. Some of them aren't suitable for the inscription Dao, but are suitable for martial cultivation. In the future, the Mystic Essence Sword Sect can choose disciples from these people. Lu Ming said with a smile. The Liangyi Mountain spanned tens of millions of miles. Naturally, not all of them were disciples of the Talisman Puppet Sect. Some of the flat territories had countless mortals living there, and some had even established their own countries. After all, the Liangyi Mountain spanned tens of millions of miles. It was as big as a small region. Then he bid farewell to Lin Shui and the rest. He flew hundreds of thousands of miles and arranged a place for Hua Qi and the other members of the Burning Sun Empire's royal family. This place was comparable to the Mystic Essence Sword Sects. Then, it was the Lu family's place. There were fewer people in the Lu family. They were arranged to stay on a huge mountain peak. The spiritual qi on this peak was extremely dense. It was one of the best on the Liangyi Mountain. There were many palaces built on the peak. They could stay there directly. Zhuang Xiaorou and Zhuang Xiaoshan stayed with the Lu family for the time being. After everything was arranged, Lu Ming heaved a sigh of relief. He was relieved. He chatted with Lu Ming and Yun Tian about their experiences. A few hours later, Lu Ming returned to the Cloud Peak residence and sat cross-legged in his room. He hadn't sensed the benefits of the providence yet. He sat cross-legged and circulated the true dragon fighting art. After a while, Lu Ming stopped. This was because he felt that his body was normal. There were no changes compared to before. The only change was that his mind was more focused and his mind was more flexible. Lu Ming, try comprehending the essence of heaven and earth. Sitting on his shoulder, Dandan nibbled on a stalk of spirit medicine as she spoke, her mouth filled with the fragrance of the medicine. Lu Ming started to comprehend the essence of heaven and earth. When Lu Ming's mind calmed down, he immediately felt that his mind was extremely clear. The essence of heaven and earth around him was also extremely clear. It was as if his mind was one with the heaven and earth. The speed at which I comprehend the essence of heaven and earth is 10 times faster than before. Lu Ming was shocked. At this moment, he didn't use the Enlightenment ancient tree. However, the speed at which he comprehended the essence of heaven and earth was so terrifying that it shocked Lu Ming. Do you feel it? The providence will not change your physical body or your cultivation. However, it will greatly increase your comprehension ability and make you more compatible with the heaven and earth. In the future, whether it's comprehending the essence of heaven and earth or something higher, it will be like a fish in water. It will be extremely fast. Of course, comprehending other martial techniques will be just as fast. Dandan explained. It can actually change my comprehension ability? Then my comprehension ability has increased by 10 times? Lu Ming's heart raced and his eyes were filled with joy. Chapter 982. Lu Ming, how much has your comprehension improved? Dandan asked. About 10 times. Lu Ming said. What, 10 times? Dandan jumped up from Lu Ming's shoulder, looking shocked. Nest, I'm so envious. You've improved by 10 times. This means that you can comprehend anything 10 times faster in the future. I'm so envious. Dandan shouted. Is 10 times a lot? Lu Ming said. He had the Enlightenment ancient tree. Under the Enlightenment ancient tree, his comprehension speed was more than 10 times faster. Boy, what do you know? This is your own comprehension. It's a basic improvement. How can the Enlightenment ancient tree compare to it? Let me tell you something. In the short term, with the Enlightenment ancient tree and the 9 dragons devouring innate skill, it doesn't seem to be of much use. But in the future, when your cultivation level is higher, you will know how useful it is. Dandan began to tell the story in a rattling voice. The Enlightenment ancient tree has its limits. Its principle is to be in harmony with heaven and earth. It can emit the aura of the Great Way. The effect is good in low realms, but there's a limit. When your cultivation reaches a certain level, the things you need to comprehend will be many times more powerful than the realm of heaven and earth. The Enlightenment ancient tree will be less useful. The 9 dragons devouring talent is even more so. You should be able to devour other people's realm runes to improve your realm, right? But the realm of heaven and earth is the limit. The next step is the realm of the martial emperor realm. It's not a realm rune. It has no substance. The 9 dragons devouring talent can't devour it. If you want to improve it, you have to rely on yourself. Now, do you know how precious the improvement of comprehension is? Dandan finished and looked at Lu Ming. I see. Lu Ming thought. It seemed that the 9 dragons devouring talent was not omnipotent. After reaching the martial emperor realm, the realm of heaven and earth could not be improved by devouring. It had to be comprehended by oneself. Only now did Lu Ming understand how precious it was to increase his comprehension ability. This was a talent that would follow him for a lifetime. Lu Ming, you are now more in tune with the heavens and earth. If you break through to the martial emperor realm one day, it will be easier for you to cultivate. This is your advantage. Dandan added. Above the martial emperor realm? Lu Ming's eyes were filled with anticipation, but then he shook his head. That level was too far away from him. What he had to do now was to take one step at a time and break through into the domain enlightened spirit god realm as soon as possible. Only the domain spirit god realm experts could be considered as the top experts of the divine wilderness continent. Then, Lu Ming closed his eyes and began to comprehend the concept of heaven and earth. At this time, the news that Lu Ming had won first place in the Battle of Providence had already spread throughout the Liangyi Mountain. The entire Liangyi Mountain was in shock and ecstasy. After so many years, someone from the Talisman Puppet sect had finally seized the first place in the Battle of Karmic Luck and obtained great karmic luck. Many people recalled the rainbow light that had descended from the sky and scattered on the Liangyi Mountain. That might have been the result of karmic luck. Some people were even inspired by the karmic luck and broke through to the next level. They were extremely grateful to Lu Ming. Lu Ming's name shook the Liangyi Mountain once again. Then, it spread out at a terrifying speed and covered the entire eastern wilderness. Time passed in a flash and 2 days passed. On this day, Fatty and Ruan Tingting found Lu Ming. Lu Ming, Master came to find us and said that he would take us to Cultivate. We have to go. Fatty bade farewell to Lu Ming. Fatty, this is a good thing. Thanks Senior Emoton for me. Lu Ming said with a smile. Sigh. Lu Ming, I originally wanted to stay and help you deal with the Emperor Heaven Divine Palace. However, my master, that old fart, was very tough this time and insisted that I go with him. I knew it. That old fart was afraid of Di. When he saw Di Yi's real body return, he didn't dare to say anything. Fatty said unhappily. Fatty, don't worry. This is the Liangyi Mountain. With the Liangyi isolation array, he can't enter. You guys cultivate well. Don't be completely crushed by me next time. Lu Ming said with a smile. Don't worry. The next time we meet, I will definitely catch up to you. Fatty grinned. Fatty, seize the opportunity. Ting Ting is a good girl. Don't let her run away. Lu Ming transmitted a message to Fatty. Fatty's face immediately turned red. He transmitted a message to Lu Ming. Don't worry. Who do you think I am? How can a girl I fancy escape from my hands? The next time we meet, I will definitely make you an uncle. Hey damn Fatty. What are you guys secretly talking about? Ruan Tingting stared at Fatty with an unfriendly gaze. No, nothing. Fatty's expression changed drastically and he shook his head repeatedly. Lu Ming, we have to go. Take care. Ruan Tingting said goodbye to Lu Ming. Take care. Lu Ming cupped his fists. Fatty and Ruan Tingting then turned and left. A day later, Bai Shijin, Du Songjue, and the other founding elders of the Talisman Puppet sect sent a message to the Liangyi Mountain of the Talisman Puppet sect to appoint Lu Ming as the Zongzi of the Talisman Puppet sect. He was an official Zongzi, no longer a candidate Zongzi. In the future, he would be in charge of the Talisman Puppet sect. This time, no one objected. Even Huan Zhen, Wen Yuezhang, and the other Zongzi candidates stood out to support Lu Ming. This time, Lu Ming had won first place in the Battle of Providence and accumulated great providence for the Talisman Puppet sect. Moreover, the news that Lu Ming was the successor of Sovereign Liansong had already spread. Lu Ming was officially promoted to the Zongzi. Other than him, no one was more suitable than him. There were also many people who benefited from the Battle of Providence. They were grateful to Lu Ming and supported him. Lu Ming had become the Zongzi of the Talisman Puppet sect. In Jiulong City, where the 9 dragon veins gathered, there was a gigantic palace in the center of Jiulong City. Emperor Di was sitting at the head of the table. Below him were a dozen people, including the leaders of the 6 ancient clans. Apart from the 6 great ancient families, the other people all had powerful auras. They were unfathomable and they were all supreme being figures. The Talisman Puppet sect must be destroyed. 6 great ancient families, Di Tian Imperial Guards, immediately gather people and attack the Talisman Puppet sect. Martial Emperor Di gave the order. Yes. The supreme beings replied in unison. This time, I will personally lead the expedition. Martial Emperor Di Yi's voice resounded. Translator, Atlas Studios editor. Atlas Studios in a courtyard where Hua Qi and the rest were staying, Lu Ming, Hua Qi, and Pang Shi were sitting at a table, drinking and chatting. It was as if they had returned to the days when they were cultivating together in the Mystic Essence Sword sect. The three of them had not drunk together for many years. Lu Ming was only 15 years old when they were in the Mystic Essence Sword sect. Now, he was 23 years old. Time flew by. In the blink of an eye, 8 years had passed. The three of them were no longer young and inexperienced youths. They were now young adults. Now, Pang Shi's body was extremely sturdy and muscular. He was more than 2 meters tall and his aura was wild. His cultivation had reached the half-step king realm. He was only 1 step away from the king realm. This cultivation was already considered the top in the Blazing Sun Empire. Chapter 983. Hua Qi, it's all because of me that you guys left the Burning Sun Empire and came to the Yin and Yang Mountain. Come, let me punish myself with a cup. Lu Ming raised his cup and drained it in 1 gulp. Lu Ming, don't say that. The Burning Sun Empire is so small. You won't be able to achieve anything there. Right now, the heaven and earth spirit Qi in the Yin and Yang Mountain is more than 100 times stronger than the Burning Sun Empire. Plus, the elites of the Burning Sun Empire are all here. Hua Qi laughed heartily, looking very carefree. In the martial world, everything is fake. Only the cultivation and strength are real. I was busy with politics before and neglected my cultivation. From now on, I will train harder. Hua Qi raised his cup and drained it in 1 gulp. Although the Burning Sun Empire was built by the ancestors of the Hua family, Hua Qi had walked out of the Burning Sun Empire and opened his eyes. He knew that the Burning Sun Empire was just a small place. Without strength, any Sea of Soul Realm warrior in the Eastern Barren Land could easily destroy the Burning Sun Empire. He knew that strength was the way to go. Hua Qi, Stone, there are some things here that might be useful to you guys. Lu Ming took out 2 storage rings and gave them to Hua Qi and Pang Shi. There were some spirit herbs, cultivation methods, martial arts manuals, and materials for spirit weapons. They weren't useful to Lu Ming, so it would be good to give them to Hua Qi. Hua Qi and Pang Shi didn't refuse this time and took them. They were well aware that Lu Ming's current realm was too high, far surpassing theirs. Many things that were useless to Lu Ming were very useful to them. Plus, with their relationship, they wouldn't refuse. In fact, before this, Lu Ming had left some things in the Mystic Essence Sword sect and the Lu family. They were all spoils of war from the enemies, but they weren't useful to Lu Ming. Lu Ming, let's not talk about other things. Come, let's drink. Hua Qi and Pang Shi raised their cups. The three clinked their cups and drained it in 1 gulp. Ha, Lu Ming, you probably don't know, but Stone has already married and is going to be a father. Hua Qi laughed loudly. Really? Lu Ming's eyes lit up. He smiled and said, Big Stone, you're amazing. When did this happen? It's a pity that I didn't know. Otherwise, I would have gone to congratulate you. Pang Shi scratched his head as a blissful expression appeared on his honest face. That was last year. The child will be born in half a year. As she spoke, she blushed slightly. Ah, look at Shi too, his face is red. Hua Qi laughed. You're still talking about me? Lu Ming, you don't know, Hua Qi married 9 concubines and now has 5 children. Pang Shi said. 9 concubines? You already have 5 children? Lu Ming stared blankly for a moment before revealing an expression of admiration. He said, You're a love-struck fool. Not bad, you're so amazing. Punish, 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 punish 3 cups. No, punish 9 cups. Sigh, I had no choice. Those ministers urged me to have children as soon as possible. I had no choice. Hua Qi's face was bitter as he drank several cups. Lu Ming and Pang Shi laughed. Lu Ming, what about you? We're already ahead of you. You have to work hard. Pang Shi grinned as he looked at Lu Ming. Lu Ming was slightly stunned. He lifted his wine glass and took a sip. A few figures involuntarily appeared in his mind. During the autumn moon, he was taken away by an expert from overseas. He did not know where he was now. Mulin's, he had not seen her since they parted ways in Tianxian domain. He did not know where she had gone either. Slowly, a figure appeared in his mind. Xian Yanqing's figure. It had been a year and a half since Xian Yanqing was brought back to the central continent ancient Saint dynasty. How was he doing now? For a moment, Lu Ming's thoughts were running wild. Sure too, you don't have to worry about Lu Ming. Lu Ming is such a hero, how could he lack beauties around him? Didn't you see how many beauties were around Lu Ming before? Hua Qi smiled. Yes, come, let's drink. Pang Shi nodded repeatedly. Lu Ming also adjusted his mood and drank with the two of them. Lu Ming was very relaxed when he was with Hua Qi and Pang Shi. He was very relaxed. The three of them had known each other since they were young. They had experienced the War of the Burning Sun Empire and had gone through life and death situations. They were pure friends without any impurities. The three of them drank and talked about their cultivation in the Mystic Essence Sword sect back then. Then they talked about their own experiences. The three of them drank for a few hours. Lu Ming's heart was filled with warmth. The path of cultivation was very lonely. Sometimes one needed friends. Perhaps there was a gap between their cultivations, and as time passed, this gap would only grow larger and larger. However, once they sat together and raised their wine cups, there was no gap between their cultivations. There was only pure friendship between them. After 3 rounds of drinking, the three of them went their separate ways. Lu Ming did not return to Yun Peak residence. Instead, he went to Yen Kuangtu's residence. When Lu Ming arrived, Yen Kuangtu was discussing something with Supreme Nine Yang. Lu Ming, what's the matter? Supreme Nine Yang asked. A token appeared in Lu Ming's hand. It was the Chaos Origin token that he had obtained after winning first place in the Battle of Providence. Brother Yen, Senior Nine Yang, I want to ask you about the Chaos Origin token. What is it for? Lu Ming asked. Chaos Origin token? Supreme Nine Yang raised his eyebrows and revealed a solemn expression. Yen Kuangtu, on the other hand, seemed a little confused. Obviously, he did not know. Actually, I don't know much. Legend has it that in the Battle of Providence, only by passing a certain standard can one obtain the Chaos Origin token. Someone in the Eastern Wilderness once obtained such a token. Supreme Nine Yang said. Senior Nine Yang and Brother Yen didn't obtain such a token? Lu Ming asked in surprise. How talented were Supreme Nine Yang and Yen Kuangtu? They had participated in the Battle of Providence. How could they not obtain such a token? Supreme Nine Yang shook his head and said, No, I didn't obtain it, and neither did Kuangtu. As far as I know, some emperors didn't obtain it when they were young. I once saw related records in an ancient book. Only a very small number of very talented geniuses have the chance to obtain it. It is said that obtaining this token may be a great opportunity, but it may also be a great crisis. Lu Ming, when you obtained the Chaos Origin token, did you receive any news? Yes, there was a sentence in my mind. It was congratulations, you have passed the preliminary test. Other than this sentence, there was no other information. Lu Ming said. As expected. Supreme Nine Yang's eyes were filled with a shocking light. Lu Ming, you have experienced the Battle of Providence. You should be able to feel that there seems to be an unimaginable existence behind this Battle of Providence, or an unimaginable force controlling all of this, right? Supreme Nine Yang asked. Yes, that is indeed the case. Lu Ming nodded. I feel the same. Master, do you know who is behind this? Chapter 984. Supreme Nine Sons shook his head and said, I don't know anything. Not to mention me, even those rulers know nothing. Perhaps only those who hold the primordial chaos token know a little. The ancient book I once read was recorded by an ancient ruler hundreds of thousands of years ago. At that time, there was already a war of providence. When that ruler was young, he also obtained the primordial chaos token. He recorded that the War of Providence seemed to be screening geniuses. The War of Providence was only the initial stage. If one reached a certain standard and obtained the primordial chaos token, one could proceed to the next stage of the assessment. However, it was very dangerous. That ruler recorded that he had seen countless geniuses who were more talented than him die. He was only lucky enough to survive and obtain some opportunities. Supreme Nine Sons paused at this point. Lu Ming and Yen Kuangtu were extremely shocked. The ruler from hundreds of thousands of years ago. Had the War of Providence been going on for so long? One had to know that a ruler could only live for 10,000 to 20,000 years at most. What kind of existence or force would take so long to select geniuses? Also, that ruler had seen countless geniuses who were more talented than him die. What kind of geniuses were they? Which of those who could become rulers did not have peerless talents? Which of them was not unparalleled in the world? Di Shen was talented enough, but he only had the potential to break through to the ruler realm. He was not 100% sure that he could do so. Supreme Nine Sons and Yen Kuangtu were both peerless geniuses, but they were not confident that they could break through to the ruler realm. However, that ancient ruler said that he had seen countless geniuses who were stronger than him die. Even he was lucky enough to survive. Could it be that those who held the primordial chaos token would face new tests later? Master, what else did the ancient martial dominator say? Did he say what kind of existence was behind it? Yen Kuangtu asked curiously. Supreme Nine Sons shook his head and said, "No, there are no records after that because that ancient ruler was not qualified to know what happened next." Lu Ming and Yen Kuangtu were extremely shocked. The things hidden behind this War of Providence were beyond their imagination. Lu Ming, the fact that you can obtain the primordial token means that you have been recognized. Perhaps there will be an even greater lucky chance in the future. Keep it for now and don't think too much about it. Supreme Nine Yang said. Lu Ming nodded. Is Yen Jizuan in? At this moment, a voice came from outside. He was here for Yen Kuangtu. Yes, please come in. Yen Kuangtu waved his hand, the gate of the courtyard opened, and a middle-aged man walked in. Lu Ming recognized that this was an elder of the Talisman Puppet sect. The middle-aged man swept his gaze and hurriedly bowed. Fan Xing greets Zongzi, Senior Nine Sons, Sovereign Yen. Elder Fong, what brings you here? Yen Kuangtu asked. I am here on the orders of the leaders of the two sects and the doyens to invite Yen Jizuan and Senior Nine Sons. I was going to invite Zongzi as well, but the doyens are in the great meeting hall and have something to discuss. Fan Xing said. The elders of the two sects have gathered. Something big must have happened. Let's go. Lu Ming said. Immediately, Lu Ming, Yen Kuangtu, Supreme Nine Sons, and Fan Xing headed to the great meeting hall. After arriving at the great meeting hall, Fan Xing left as he was not qualified to participate. Everyone, the Emperor Heavenly Divine Palace's army is here. Martial Emperor is personally leading the army. When Lu Ming and the others arrived, Bai Shijin announced the news. Supreme Nine Sons narrowed his eyes and said, he is indeed unable to hold back and is about to take action. Seniors, what do you plan to do next? Lu Ming asked. We have already discussed it. The Liangyi Mountain has obtained the fortune of heaven and earth and formed its own formation. With the support of the ancestors of the Talisman Puppet sect, there is no need to worry about its defense. Even D cannot break in. Therefore, we have decided to give up all the territory of the Talisman Puppet sect and withdraw all the disciples and experts to the Liangyi Mountain to resist the Emperor Heavenly Divine Palace with the formation. Bai Shijin said. Lu Ming's heart sank as he sighed in his heart. With the Talisman Puppet sect's current strength, they could not fight against the Emperor Heavenly Divine Palace. Not to mention that the Emperor Heavenly Divine Palace had Martial Emperor D. Even if D did not make a move, they would not be a match for the forces below. Right now, the best solution was to use the Liangyi Mountains formation to defend and slowly accumulate strength to plan a counterattack. Immediately, everyone discussed the specific steps and sent out orders for the experts of the Talisman Puppet sect's territory to withdraw to the Liangyi Mountain. Senior Nine Sons, I have something that should be of help to you. While everyone was discussing, Lu Ming suddenly said. Supreme Nine Sons was somewhat confused. The others also looked at Lu Ming. Lu Ming waved his hand, and a jade figure immediately appeared in the hall. Could this be the legendary Heaven and Earth Jade Essence? When Bai Shijin, Du Songjue, and the others saw it, their eyes nearly popped out as they stuttered. That's right. This is the Heaven and Earth Jade Essence. I obtained it in the Battle of Luck. With this, I wonder if Senior Nine Suns can condense a physical body? Lu Ming said. At this moment, Supreme Nine Suns' eyes were shining like two suns. My soul is already very condensed. If I add a few more materials with this heaven and earth jade essence, I can definitely condense a physical body and return to my peak. Supreme Nine Suns took a deep breath and said. His voice trembled slightly, showing how excited he was. Really? That's great. Yan Kuangtu was overjoyed and laughed excitedly. Bai Shijin, Du Songjue, and the others were also overjoyed. What kind of person was Supreme Nine Suns? He was known as the #1 Supreme in the Eastern Wilderness. If Supreme Nine Suns could condense a physical body, the Talisman Puppet Sect's strength would undoubtedly soar. How could they not be excited to have another Supreme expert? Especially in the midst of a great battle, if Supreme Nine Suns could condense a physical body, it was too important. That's great. I still have a bottle of life water here. It might be useful. Lu Ming took out another bottle of life water, shocking Bai Shijin and the others. It seemed that Lu Ming had indeed obtained a great opportunity in the battle of luck. Lu Ming, thank you. Supreme Nine Suns did not stand on ceremony. He stared into Lu Ming's eyes and said solemnly, Senior Nine Suns, there's no need to stand on ceremony with me. Without you, I wouldn't be here today. As long as I can help Senior Nine Suns, this is nothing. Lu Ming said with a smile. Lu Ming, I also want to thank you. In the future, you will be my best brother. Yan Kuangtu patted Lu Ming's shoulder and said, Wasn't it in the past? Lu Ming asked with a smile. Yes, it has always been. Ha! Yan Kuangtu laughed. Chapter 985. As the days passed, the Emperor Heavenly Divine Palace launched a fierce attack on the Talisman Puppet Sect. However, the Talisman Puppet Sect did not put up any resistance. Wherever the Emperor Heavenly Divine Palace's army passed, the Talisman Puppet Sect's territory surrendered. In just a month's time, all the territories of the Talisman Puppet Sect were occupied by the Emperor Heavenly Divine Palace. The Talisman Puppet Sect was only left with the Yinyang Mountain. On this day, the roars of beasts could be heard outside the Yinyang Mountain. Countless powerful existences riding on various ferocious beasts appeared outside the Yinyang Mountain. Their iron hooves stomped on the air, shaking the entire space. Banners fluttered in the wind, covering the sky. The auras of countless experts caused the sky to change color. The Emperor Heavenly Divine Palace's army had arrived. Buzz! The entire Yinyang Mountain was glowing. Countless inscriptions filled the air, and a huge Taiji diagram appeared in the sky above the Yinyang Mountain. The Yinyang diagram appeared, covering the entire Yinyang Mountain. Lu Ming, Yan Kuangtu, Bai Shijin, Du Songjue, and many other elders stood at the edge of the Yinyang Mountain, watching from afar through the array. Boom! Boom! Heaven and earth shook, as if a giant was stepping on the air. Terrifying auras soared into the sky. 10 figures appeared before the Emperor Heavenly Divine Palace's army. Vast auras burst out, and each of them was like an invincible god of war. With the heads of the 6 ancient families here, the other 4 were undoubtedly at the same level. 10 Supremes. Bai Shijin, Du Songjue, if you know what's good for you, you'd better surrender quickly and hand over Lu Ming. Then, we might be able to ensure the safety of the Talisman Puppet Sect. Otherwise, once the array is broken, the Talisman Puppet Sect will be wiped out. The Wang clan's head was the first to speak, and his voice was filled with killing intent. Break the array if you have the ability. If you can break the array, we can die without regrets. Bai Shijin replied coldly. It said that the Yinyang Mountain's array is unbreakable. I would like to see if the rumors are true. The Wang clan's head's body surged with flames. The blazing flames burned the space into nothingness, revealing a dark void that was deep and terrifying. A battle flame sword that was a few thousand meters long, emitting a terrifying aura. Even though they were separated by the Grand Formation, many disciples of the Talisman Puppet Sect revealed expressions of fear. Before a sovereign, they felt that they were like ants that were difficult to contend against. Slash! The master of the Wang family roared as he slashed his flaming sword at the Yin and Yang mountain. This sword strike could tear through space and pierce through the earth. It had the power to destroy the heavens and earth. Under this sword, the space was shattered into pieces. For many talisman puppet sect disciples, this was the first time they had seen a sovereign erupt. They were extremely shocked as cold sweat flowed down their backs. Boom! The flaming sword heavily chopped down on the Taiji diagram above Yin-Yang mountain. The world trembled continuously. However, the Taiji diagram did not tremble at all, remaining as stable as Mount Tai. As the sword radiance dissipated, the master of the Jiang family looked somewhat gloomy. Even sovereigns can't break the Yin and Yang formation. Wang Xinghan, who do you think you are? Du Songjue coldly berated, causing the killing intent in the eyes of the Wang clan head to surge. Above his head, the pure purple heavenly fire bloodline appeared. He performed bloodline fusion and transformed into a flaming sword, slashing at the Great Duality War again. But this time, just like last time, the Yin-Yang Grand Formation didn't budge in the slightest. This caused the Wang clan head's expression to turn even uglier. On the other hand, the numerous disciples of the Talisman Puppet sect finally heaved a sigh of relief when they saw this scene. In the past, it was rumored that even sovereigns couldn't break the Yin and Yang formation. However, it was just a rumor and they weren't confident in it. When they saw the terrifying aura of a sovereign, they were even more worried. But now, they didn't have to worry anymore. The facts had proven that the Yin and Yang formation was indestructible. Let's attack together. I don't believe that we can't break this formation. The Wang clan head said to the other 9. All right. The other 9 nodded. Boom, boom. The 10 sovereigns erupted at the same time. Their auras were earth-shattering. The space around them couldn't withstand the terrifying pressure and collapsed. Behind them, the Emperor's Sky Divine Palace's army quickly retreated, retreating 10,000 miles away. In the next moment, the 10 sovereigns attacked at the same time. 10 terrifying attacks struck the Yin and Yang formation at the same time. Maintain the formation. Bai Shijin's voice echoed far away. Many elders and disciples in various places of Yin-Yang Mountain were pouring their mental energy into the formation platforms. There were countless formation platforms in various places of Yin-Yang Mountain that were connected to the Yin and Yang formation. The Talisman Puppet sect's disciples could continuously pour in their mental energy to maintain the power of the Yin and Yang formation. There were too many of these formation platforms in various places. They weren't afraid that the Talisman Puppet sect's spies from the Emperor's Sky Divine Palace would destroy them. This was because destroying a few formation platforms wouldn't affect the formation at all. However, this was impossible. How big was Yin-Yang Mountain? Even if there were spies, Bai Shijin and the rest would be able to kill them in time. Boom, boom, boom. The attacks of the 10 sovereigns landed on the Taiji diagram, but they only caused slight ripples that were negligible. The Yin and Yang formation's name wasn't just for show. Let me do it. A voice came from the depths of the Emperor's Sky Divine Palace's army. In the next moment, a golden sword light slashed through the space. It was majestic like the might of the heavens as it slashed towards the Taiji diagram. Boom! The entire Yin and Yang mountain seemed to have jumped and let out a terrifying tremor. However, the Taiji diagram shone and blocked the sword light. Whoosh, whoosh. However, soon after, more and more sword lights slashed towards the Taiji diagram. Following the sword lights that were like the might of the heavens, a person stepped on the air. It was Martial Monarch D. He wasn't very tall and sturdy, but he gave people the feeling that he was as tall as the heavens. He stood casually in the air like an indomitable deity. His body was covered in a golden light. Every ray of golden light turned into a battle sword and slashed towards the Yin and Yang formation. Boom, boom. Ripples appeared on the Taiji diagram and it shook continuously. Maintain it. Bai Shijin's voice spread far and wide. The Talisman Puppet sect's disciples continuously poured in their mental flames to maintain the formation's might. Clang. 10,000 rays of golden light gathered on Martial Monarch Di's body and turned into a huge sword that slashed down. Rumble. There was a shocking explosion and the space shattered, revealing a terrifying spatial crack that was a few thousand li long. Bai Shijin and the rest had grave expressions. Martial monarch Di Yi's strength was beyond their imagination. The yin and yang formations seemed to be under great pressure. Fortunately, the yin and yang formation managed to withstand the attack and wasn't broken. Martial monarch Di withdrew his aura and his face turned gloomy. Bai Shijin and the rest heaved a long sigh of relief. Although the talisman puppet sect's ancestor had said that no martial monarch could break the yin and yang formation, martial monarch Di was too famous. He was invincible in the eastern wilderness. Before this, no one was confident. If the yin and yang formation was broken, the talisman puppet sect would be completely destroyed and the yin and yang mountain would be wiped out. Boom, boom, boom. Just at this moment, a shocking explosion came from a mountain deep in the yin and yang mountain. Chapter 986. There was originally one sun in the sky. Now, another sun was floating in the yin-yang mountain. It was extremely bright, competing with the real sun in the sky. However, this was only the beginning. After only a few breaths of time, another sun appeared. Then, more and more suns appeared in the sky, competing with the real sun in the sky. In the end, a total of 9 suns appeared. They were extremely bright, making it hard for people to open their eyes. Boom! A burly figure rushed out from the mountain peak and stood under the 9 suns. He looked like a sun god descending to the world, giving people an indescribable shock. Master! Yen Kuangtu was overjoyed. 9 suns? It's Xia Zhuyang. Outside the yin-yang formation, the Wang clan head, the Jiang clan head, and the others shouted in disbelief. Wasn't Supreme 9 Suns just a wisp of his remnant soul? However, from the looks of it, he had recovered his physical body. His aura was strong and unparalleled. All the primes in the Emperor Heaven Divine Palace had grave expressions. Many of them had worked with Supreme 9 Suns before, so they knew how terrifying Supreme 9 Suns was. Supreme 9 Suns was known as the strongest primes in the eastern wilderness. Even Yen Kuangtu, who was so strong, did not have this title. This was because Yen Kuangtu had opponents, and Supreme 9 Suns had no opponents under the martial monarch realm. Senior 9 Suns. Lu Ming was overjoyed. It seemed like Supreme 9 Suns had succeeded. Bai Shijin and the others were also overjoyed. With Supreme 9 Suns recovered, their strength was much stronger. Supreme 9 Suns alone was equivalent to several supreme martial artists. Boom! There was a loud explosion, and the 9 suns shook. Then, they slowly shrank, turning into 9 spots of light that entered Supreme 9 Sun's body and disappeared. Whoosh! There was a flash of light, and Supreme 9 Suns appeared beside Lu Ming and the others. Senior 9 Suns, you recovered? Lu Ming was extremely excited. My physical body has been reformed. However, I still need some time to recover my peak cultivation and battle prowess. Supreme 9 Suns smiled. Great. Yen Kuangtu was overjoyed and laughed loudly. When the other elders of the Talisman Puppet Sect found out, they were also very excited. Supreme 9 Suns' reputation was too great. He was invincible among primes under the martial monarch realm. This greatly increased the overall morale of the Talisman Puppet Sect. Xia Zhuyang has really recovered. The Wang family head and the others widened their eyes in shock. Jiao Yang, I didn't expect you to be able to recover your body. Martial Emperor Di frowned and said, What? Di, you didn't expect this, did you? It's all thanks to Lu Ming that I can recover one day. Moreover, fortune and misfortune come hand in hand. After this disaster, I may be able to reach a higher level. Supremacy, Jiao Yang said, staring at Emperor Di. The words served as a great shock to the patriarch of the Wang clan, the 9 Heaven Supremes, and Bai Shijin's crew. The difference was that the Wang clan's clan leader and the others were shocked, whereas Bai Shijin and the others were overjoyed. Supreme 9 Suns had already reached the peak of the Supreme Being level. What did it mean to be able to reach a higher level? Wouldn't he be a martial emperor? Could Supreme 9 Suns break through to the martial emperor realm? This was too shocking. It had been a few thousand years since a new martial emperor was born in the Eastern Barren Land. A martial emperor could live for 10 to 20,000 years. However, how many martial emperors were there in the Eastern Barren Land? There were only a few. If Supreme Nine Sons really broke through to the martial emperor realm, the Talisman Puppet Sect would have the strength to fight against the Emperor Heaven Godly Palace. Martial Emperor Di's eyes flickered as he said, "Jiao Yang, you've indeed benefited from the disaster. You've obtained a great fortunate encounter, allowing you to travel around in the form of a fragmented soul for a few decades, allowing your cultivation to improve. At the same time, with your new body, you do have a chance to reach the martial emperor realm. As expected of the disciple that I chose. It's all thanks to you," Supreme Nine Sons said. "Ha, Jiao Yang, even so, you won't be able to reach the martial emperor realm within 10 years. After 10 years, you and the Duality Mountain will turn into ashes. Even if you break through to the martial emperor realm, do you think you can fight against me?" Martial Emperor Di burst out laughing, filled with confidence. The hearts of Bai Shijin and the others sank slightly. Let's not talk about when Supreme Nine Sons would break through. Even if he could break through, would he be a match for Martial Emperor Di? Martial Emperor Di had been a martial emperor for 10,000 years. No one knew what level he had reached. I've said it before, the Talisman Puppet Sect will be destroyed. You won't have any chance. Although the duality formation is strong, it's not invincible. Martial Emperor Di's voice resounded. A blood-red light was emitted from his forehead. But in the next moment, the sound of waves crashing could be heard. A sea of blood appeared in front of Martial Emperor Di. It was a sea of blood that was completely made of blood. Furthermore, the sea of blood was expanding rapidly. 10 miles, 100 miles, 1,000 miles, 10,000 miles. In the end, it turned into millions of miles long and wide, covering a large area of Ini Mountains territory. The sea of blood covered the sky, causing the Talisman Puppet Sect to become completely dark. This is the everlasting sea of blood. How is this possible? Such a heaven-defying treasure actually exists in this world. Du Songjue cried out in shock. Bai Shijin, Meng Chong, and the other experts who had heard of the everlasting sea of blood opened their eyes wide in shock. Bai Shijin, what is this everlasting sea of blood? How come I've never heard of such a treasure? Yen Kuangtu asked. I don't know either. I've only read about it in the ancient books. It doesn't exist in the divine wilderness continent. The everlasting sea of blood has a terrifying power, which is to destroy formations. It can cover the formation and corrode its foundation, thus destroying the formation completely. I didn't expect Di to have such a treasure. Bai Shijin said with an ugly expression. Yen Kuangtu's face darkened when he heard this. I reckon that this is a treasure that Martial Emperor Di brought back from overseas. He has long wanted to deal with the Duality Mountain. Supreme Nine Sons said. The world is so big, the divine wilderness continent is just a drop in the ocean. I brought it back from overseas and it's enough to destroy the formation of the Duality Mountain. Martial Emperor Di's voice resounded. The Wang family head and the others were overjoyed. The sea of blood rolled and covered the Duality formation. Countless blood-red seawater flowed along the edge of the Duality Mountain and seeped into the mountain, destroying the momentum of the mountain. Lu Ming and the others even heard a sizzling sound. How could this be? Some elders of the Talisman Puppet Sect cried out anxiously. There's no need to panic. Although the everlasting sea of blood is strong, the Duality formation has a natural momentum. Even the everlasting sea of blood won't be able to destroy the Duality formation in a short time. Bai Shijin comforted them. Martial Emperor Di stood outside the Duality formation and looked at the rolling sea of blood. He ordered, the everlasting sea of blood won't be able to destroy the Duality formation in a short time. Leave some people here to guard and prevent the people of the Talisman Puppet Sect from escaping. Also, guard the teleportation formations strictly. Yes, Your Majesty. The Supremes accepted the order. Chapter 987. Inside the Dual Polarity Mountain, it was completely dark. Everywhere was covered in blood red, and the sky was covered by a sea of blood. Bai Shijin, Du Songjue, and the others sent a few messages to calm the hearts of the people. The Talisman Puppet Sect slowly calmed down. In the Talisman Puppet Sect's meeting hall, Lu Ming, Yan Kuangtu, Supreme Nine Sons, and the higher-ups of the Talisman Puppet Sect sat together to discuss matters. However, the atmosphere was extremely heavy, as if there was a huge rock pressing down on their hearts. Senior Bai, Senior Du, how long can the dual polarity grand formation last? Lu Ming asked. Bai Shijin pondered for a moment and said, the dual polarity grand formation mainly relies on the power of the mountains and rivers. At the same time, it's strengthened by the founding ancestors, making it unbreakable. On the other hand, the everlasting sea of blood mainly relies on corrosion, slowly corroding the foundation of the formation to break it. This requires a process. As long as the disciples of the Talisman Puppet Sect constantly inject their mental energy to maintain the formation and resist, it should be able to last for 5 years. Yeah, that's about the time I expected. Du Songjue nodded and said, 5 years. Many people felt slightly relieved, but the atmosphere was still heavy. 5 years seemed long, but it would pass in the blink of an eye. What would happen to the Talisman Puppet Sect once the formation was broken in 5 years? I've finally touched the threshold of the martial monarch realm with the help of my luck after reconstructing my body. However, it's still extremely difficult to break through. I'm not confident that I can break through within 5 years, and even if I do, I might not be able to compete with D. He is unfathomable. Supreme Nine Sons said, causing the atmosphere to become even heavier. Then what should we do? An elder asked. Should we just sit and wait for death? Should we wait for 5 years for Martial Monarch D to kill us? No matter what, we still have 5 years. 5 years is enough for a lot of changes to happen. We might still have a chance. Bai Shijin said. Following this, everyone discussed their next step. In the end, they decided to provide all the resources of the Talisman Puppet Sect to the disciples to increase their strength in order to face the challenge 5 years later. Elders, I have something to discuss with the founding elders. You may leave first. At this time, Lu Ming suddenly spoke, startling everyone. Many elders exchanged glances before they cupped their fists and said, Yes, Zongzi. We'll take our leave. Now that Lu Ming was a Zongzi, his authority was above that of ordinary elders, so these elders naturally didn't say anything. Although they had doubts in their hearts, they still took their leave. Only Supreme Nine Yang, Yan Kuangtu, Bai Shijin, Du Songjue, and several other eminent elders were left in the hall. Lu Ming, what do you want to discuss with us? Bai Shijin asked. What was the matter that made those elders retreat? They were curious. Seniors, I'll be leaving Liangyi Mountain for the next 5 years to cultivate in the outside world. Lu Ming said. Leave Mount Yin and Yang? Bai Shijin and the others were slightly taken aback. Not bad. Lu Ming nodded solemnly. This was Lu Ming's decision. He had the bloodline of the 9 dragons, so only by leaving Mount Yin and Yang and adventuring in the outside world could his cultivation improve rapidly. If he stayed in Mount Yin and Yang, no matter how many resources he had, his cultivation wouldn't improve too much within 5 years. It would be considered good if he could break through to the spirit god realm. However, what was the use of a spirit god realm cultivator against D? He would still be slapped to death. Only by adventuring in the outside world could he have a slight chance of growing to the level of fighting D. I agree with Lu Ming's idea. Lu Ming is still young, and he's at the golden age of cultivation. If he's trapped here, his achievements will be limited. Only by going out can he improve quickly. Supreme Nine Yang said. That's right. Yan Kuangtu nodded. Bai Shijin, Du Songjue, and the others nodded as well. However, since Lu Ming has thought of this, I'm afraid D has as well. If Lu Ming goes out, he might sense it through the bloodline of the 9 dragons. Wouldn't that be even more dangerous? Bai Shijin pondered. Yes, unless Lu Ming leaves the eastern wilderness and cultivates in other places. Du Songjue said. I plan to go to the central continent. Lu Ming said. As long as he was far enough away, even D wouldn't be able to sense the bloodline of the 9 dragons. However, Bai Shijin, Du Songjue, and the others still frowned. After a while, Bai Shijin said, "There's one more important thing. Since Grandmaster Liansong went missing, especially in the last few hundred years, the overlord forces of the Central Continent have cut off contact with the Talisman Puppet Sect. So, if we want to go to the Central Continent, we can't activate the trans-territory teleportation formation and directly teleport to the Central Continent or other territories. What? We can't teleport directly," Yen Kuangtu said. The others frowned as well. The Eastern Barren Territory and the Central Continent were very far apart. Moreover, the border between the Eastern Barren Territory and the Central Continent was an extremely wide chaotic territory. This chaotic territory stretched from the south to the north, separating the Central Continent and the Eastern Barren Territory. Usually, overlord forces like D Tian Divine Palace would have contact with the overlord forces of the Central Continent. If they wanted to go to the Central Continent, they could take the trans-territory teleportation formation and directly teleport to the overlord forces of the Central Continent. However, the Talisman Puppet Sect had cut off contact with the overlord forces of the Central Continent. There were no teleportation coordinates, so it was impossible to teleport directly. Since they couldn't teleport, they could only cross the chaotic territory and head to the Central Continent. However, the chaotic territory was extremely wide and the distance was extremely far. Moreover, it was extremely dangerous. Even spiritual god experts risked death if they wanted to cross the chaotic territory. However, this wasn't the most important thing. What they were worried about was that Lu Ming couldn't teleport directly to the Central Continent. If he walked out of the Yin and Yang Mountain, he would definitely appear somewhere in the eastern wilderness. Would De sense the bloodline of the 9 dragons and determine his location? This was what they were worried about. This can also be solved. As long as we work together, we can temporarily seal the aura of Lu Ming's 9 dragons bloodline for a period of time. However, even in the Central Continent, I'm afraid that D Tian Divine Palace has spies. If Martial Emperor D knows that Lu Ming is in the Central Continent, it will be even more dangerous. Du Songjue said. He had thought it through thoroughly. Seniors, if I'm still in the Talisman Puppet Sect, I can attract the attention of Martial Emperor D. Then, he won't pay attention to the matters of the Central Continent, right? Lu Ming said. You're still in the Talisman Puppet Sect? Then how are you going to go to the Central Continent? Bai Shijin, Du Songjue, and even Supreme Nine Sons and the others were a little confused. They didn't know what Lu Ming meant. Seniors, look. Lu Ming waved his hand and a jade figure appeared in the hall. Heaven and Earth Jade Essence. You have another Heaven and Earth Jade Essence? Bai Shijin and the others opened their eyes wide and were tongue-tied in disbelief. Chapter 988. That's right, the Heavenly and Earthly Jade Essences. I found 2 of them during the Battle of Luck. Lu Ming said. 2. The crowd's hearts skipped a beat. They could not help but be jealous of Lu Ming's law-defying fortunate encounter to be able to find 2 of the heavenly and earthly jade essences. However, they were still confused. What did it have to do with Lu Ming's trip to the Middle Continent? Seniors, I've also found a secret technique during the Battle of Luck, known as the Twin Life Forbidden Art. Lu Ming then explained the martial art of the Twin Life Forbidden Art to the crowd. Heavens, such a secret technique exists? The crowd stared with their eyes open wide and their mouths agape. Such a secret technique was absolutely law-defying. To be able to split one's soul into 2 and refine a second body, which was equivalent to a clone of oneself with the same aura and the ability to cultivate on its own. This was definitely a law-defying secret technique. I want to create a second body and let it stay in the Talisman Puppet Sect. The second body's aura will be exactly the same as mine and it will be like another me. This way, I will be able to firmly attract Martial Emperor D's attention here and he will think that I've always been in the Talisman Puppet Sect. This way, my main body will be able to travel to the Central Continent. Lu Ming explained his plan. The Supreme 9 Sons, Bai Shijin, and the others fell silent. It was indeed a good idea. Lu Ming, what other materials do you need to cultivate the Twin Life Forbidden Art? Bai Shijin asked. The most important thing is the water of life and the heavenly and earthly jade essences. I already have them, but I still need some other materials. Following this, Lu Ming explained the other materials he needed. Lu Ming, we can gather the materials you mentioned, but we don't have many treasures that can restore one's soul. Bai Shijin said, cultivating the twin life forbidden art would require one to split one's soul into two, which would undoubtedly cause great damage to one's soul. After successfully cultivating the twin life forbidden art, one would need treasures that could restore one's main body and second body to their peak condition. Otherwise, it would greatly affect one's future cultivation. Treasures that can restore one's soul? You don't have to worry about that. Master and I have found many treasures that can restore one's soul. We still have some left. Yan Kuangte laughed as a storage ring appeared in his hand. He handed it to Lu Ming. There are many soul-condensing stones here. Have a look. Is it enough? In the past year or so, Yan Kuangte had helped Supreme Nine Sons condense his soul force and found many treasures that could restore the soul force. Lu Ming scanned the storage ring with his mind and discovered that there were pieces of black stones in the storage ring, exuding a mysterious aura. They were the legendary soul-condensing stones. There were hundreds of them. Lu Ming was overjoyed. Enough, enough. Okay, then we will gather the other materials and let Lu Ming cultivate his second body as soon as possible. Bai Shijin said. Du Songjue and the others also revealed hopeful expressions. Lu Ming's talent was heaven-defying, and he possessed the bloodline of the 9 dragons. It would be a waste to leave him in the talisman puppet sect. If he took the risk and cultivated outside, he might be able to create a miracle. Furthermore, even if he couldn't create a miracle and reach the level of fighting against Di, Lu Ming was still alive. Even if the talisman puppet sect was destroyed, Lu Ming would be able to avenge the talisman puppet sect in the future, or even rebuild it. They also understood why Lu Ming had asked the elders to leave. They couldn't let Martial Emperor Di know about this. Otherwise, it would be a waste of effort. 3 days later, in an underground cave of the talisman puppet sect, Lu Ming sat with his legs crossed. Lu Ming circulated the twin life forbidden art. More than 10 materials turned into a ball of liquid in his hand, which then covered the jade essence of heaven and earth. Condense. Lu Ming's hands continuously formed a magical seal. Rays of light entered the jade essence of heaven and earth. The jade essence of heaven and earth glowed and merged with the materials. Its shape gradually changed. Although the jade essence of heaven and earth had the shape of a human, it only had a blurry human shape. Its facial features were blurry. Now, the facial features of the jade essence of heaven and earth became clearer. Its entire body began to change, turning into a flesh and blood body. Organs, meridians, bones, and blood began to appear as Lu Ming continued to form the seals. Life elixir. At this moment, Lu Ming took out the life elixir and poured 1/2 kilogram of it onto the jade essence of heaven and earth. The jade essence of heaven and earth began to emit an aura of life. It's time. Lu Ming's eyes flickered. Next, it was the critical moment. He had to split his soul and merge it with the heaven and earth jade essence to refine his second body. This step was very dangerous and difficult. The slightest carelessness could damage one's soul and even cause the cultivation to fail. Lu Ming operated the twin life forbidden art. His body glowed. In the end, a ball of light emerged. It was blurry, but one could barely see that it looked exactly like Lu Ming. This was Lu Ming's soul. Split. Lu Ming shouted softly and pinched a seal. Suddenly, Lu Ming's soul began to tremble and slowly split from the middle. Immediately, an unimaginable pain drowned Lu Ming. In an instant, Lu Ming's eyes were bloodshot and he let out a beast-like roar. It was too painful, too painful. This kind of pain was unimaginable. It was 100 times, no, 1,000 times more painful than the physical pain. Those who were not mentally strong might have a mental breakdown at this step and fail. This was the pain of the soul splitting. It came directly from the soul. This little bit of pain is nothing. Lu Ming roared and returned to his original state. He guarded his heart and continued to operate the twin life forbidden art. Endless pain engulfed Lu Ming, but Lu Ming withstood it with all his might. Lu Ming's soul was slowly splitting. This process was very slow. Lu Ming was suffering every moment. This kind of torment lasted for 3 days. Finally, the soul was completely split. The split soul turned into a ball of light and entered the jade essence of heaven and earth. At this moment, Lu Ming felt his mind go blank. His eyes were unfocused and he was extremely weak. No, hold on. I'm still cultivating the twin life forbidden art. Lu Ming roared in his heart. He finally recovered and continued to operate the twin life forbidden art. The twin life restriction was indeed worthy of being a restriction technique. It was extremely dangerous to cultivate it. It could be said that every step was filled with danger. If one made a single mistake, not only would they fail in their cultivation, they would also suffer unimaginable injuries. Fortunately, Lu Ming withstood it. Let's separate the spiritual fire into the second body. In Lu Ming's sea of consciousness, the spiritual fire was slowly separated from the soul. Lu Ming planned to completely refine the second body into an inscription body. It was too exhausting for one person to cultivate 2 Daos. During this period of time, Lu Ming often felt that he did not have enough energy. It was difficult to cultivate both the martial Dao and the inscription Dao at the same time. One of them would fall behind. During this period of time, Lu Ming focused on the martial Dao and fell behind in the inscription Dao. His progress was very slow. Therefore, Lu Ming planned to take this opportunity to separate the inscription Dao and let the second body focus on the inscription Dao while the main body focused on the martial Dao. The second body would not have any distracting thoughts and would cultivate the inscription Dao. Its speed would definitely be terrifying. Chapter 989. Lu Ming sat motionless. The heaven and earth jade essence was glowing and its body was slowly changing. A month later, the heaven and earth jade essence had completely transformed into a human body. It was made of flesh and blood and looked exactly like Lu Ming. Its muscles were firm, well-proportioned, and full of perfect lines. It was like the most beautiful work of art. At this moment, Lu Ming opened his eyes and a smile appeared on his face. His second body had successfully cultivated. At this moment, the second body also opened his eyes. However, there was no emotion in his eyes. His eyes were very ethereal, without any impurities, like a newborn baby. Lu Ming's mind moved. His mind seemed to be able to enter the second body's mind at any time. At this moment, the second body had a trace of emotion and nodded slightly at Lu Ming. The main body and the second body could communicate telepathically. No matter how far away they were, the main body could sense what the second body saw and what happened. Even the main body could receive what the second body comprehended. This was the real heaven-defying and unbelievable. At this moment, a purple spiritual fire was dancing between the second body's eyebrows. Endless inscriptions suddenly appeared under his feet and spread in all directions, forming a large array. So fast, the inscription speed is too fast. It's more than twice as fast as my original inscription speed. Lu Ming exclaimed. The second body's mind and body were free of impurities. If he focused on one thing, he would naturally be more effective. In the future, you will specialize in the Tao of inscription. Lu Ming stretched out his hand and tapped on the second body's forehead. In the sea of consciousness, the cultivation experience that Liao Tsang had sealed in Lu Ming's sea of consciousness was transferred to the second body's sea of consciousness. Then, a picture scroll appeared in Lu Ming's hand and flew into the second body's forehead and disappeared. It was the million formation image. Then, Lu Ming took out a storage ring and the second body put it on. The storage ring was filled with all kinds of materials related to the Tao of inscription. Lu Ming gave all of them to the second body. The second body's palm glowed, and a set of blue clothes appeared. The second body put it on, and suddenly he looked exactly like Lu Ming. To be precise, the second body was also Lu Ming. It was no different from Lu Ming himself. The only difference was that the second body didn't have Lu Ming's consciousness. Then, the second body took a step forward and transformed into a ray of light. Then, it submerged into the space between Lu Ming's eyebrows. Lu Ming's mind sank into his sea of consciousness. He found that the second body was sitting cross-legged in his sea of consciousness. He was quietly practicing the way of inscription. Time to recover my soul force. With a thought, Lu Ming's second body reappeared. He then took out the soul-condensing stone and began recovering his soul power. After all, splitting one's soul into two would consume too much energy. In the blink of an eye, another month had passed. Lu Ming had already been in seclusion for 2 months. It's time to go. Lu Ming opened his eyes. After a month of refining the soul-condensing stone, the second body and the main body's soul force had almost completely recovered. After the second body submerged into his sea of consciousness, Lu Ming got up and walked out of the secret chamber. Outside the secret chamber, Bai Shijin, Du Songjue, Yan Kuangtu, and Supreme Nine Sons were waiting. Lu Ming is out. Yan Kuangtu's eyes lit up. Lu Ming, how was your cultivation? Did you succeed? Bai Shijin asked. The rest of them looked at Lu Ming expectantly. Lu Ming smiled. Light flashed between his eyebrows. The second body walked out and stood beside Lu Ming. The two of them looked exactly the same. They were both wearing blue robes. Supreme Nine Sons and the other three's gazes fell on the second body. They carefully sensed the second body and their eyes were filled with amazement. Wonderful, wonderful, this is simply a work of art. Bai Shijin was shocked and sighed. It is indeed a work of art. With such a second body in the Talisman Puppet Sect, Di will definitely think that Lu Ming has always been here. Supreme Nine Sons said. Lu Ming, when do you plan to leave? Du Songju asked. In 2 days. Lu Ming said. Well, before we leave, we will seal the aura of your 9 dragons' bloodline. Du Songjue nodded. Lu Ming bid farewell to the others and went to the residence of the Lu family. When Lu Yuntian and Li Ping saw 2 identical Lu Mings standing in front of them, they were stunned for a long time. If it wasn't for the different eyes of the main body and the second body, they wouldn't have been able to tell which one was the main body and which one was the second. Ming, are you leaving? Li Ping asked. Lu Ming nodded. He only planned to tell Lu Yuntian and Li Ping about the main body and the second body. He didn't tell anyone else. Ming, don't worry. Your second body is also formed by half of your soul. It means that you are with us. Lu Yuntian said. Indeed, the consciousness of the main body and the second body could be connected. The second body was equivalent to Lu Ming. Father, here are some cultivation techniques and martial techniques. You can keep them and cultivate them yourself. If the Lu clan's juniors, or the Mystic Essence Sword sects or the Hua clan's disciples have good moral character and perception, you can also pass them on. Lu Ming took out a stack of secret manuals and handed it to Lu Yuntian. Lu Yuntian took it and casually flipped open one. His eyes almost popped out. This is a divine-level cultivation method. Lu Yuntian was shocked. Yes, when he flipped it open, it was a divine-level cultivation method, the sky-warping divine skill. Well, there are 2 divine-level cultivation methods and the rest are demigod-level martial arts techniques. Lu Ming nodded. These were all obtained by Lu Ming in the Battle of Providence. With these cultivation methods and martial arts techniques, the Lu family would definitely rise. Lu Yuntian took a few deep breaths and solemnly kept the secret manuals. 2 days later, in a secret chamber, Lu Ming sat cross-legged. The 9 dragons' bloodline floated above his head. Bai Shijin and the others were beside Lu Ming, constantly condensing inscriptions and covering the 9 dragons' bloodline. Half a day later, they stopped. The 9 dragons' bloodline entered Lu Ming's body and Lu Ming opened his eyes. Lu Ming, your 9 dragons' bloodline has reached the 6th level of the divine level. Its aura is too strong. Even if we join forces, we can only seal it for half a year. After half a year, the seal won't be able to seal the aura of the 9 dragons' bloodline. Bai Shijin said. Half a year, that's enough. Lu Ming nodded. Half a year later, he would definitely be far away from the eastern wilderness. No matter how powerful Martial Emperor Di was, he would not be able to sense it. Lu Ming, take care. I hope to see you again in the future. You're already powerful enough to shock the world. Yen Kuangtu patted Lu Ming's shoulder and said, "Big brother Yen, Senior Jiang, goodbye." Lu Ming solemnly cupped his fists and exchanged glances with his second body. Then he left with Bai Shijin, Du Songjue, and the others. If Lu Ming brought his second body with him, his strength would undoubtedly be much stronger. However, he had no choice but to leave his second body in the Talisman Puppet Sect. He arrived at a teleportation altar with Bai Shijin, Du Songjue, and the others. Lu Ming, now that all the territories of the Talisman Puppet Sect have been occupied by Martial Emperor Di, the territories near the Chaos Realm will definitely be occupied too. The teleportation altars in those territories will definitely be heavily guarded. However, the Talisman Puppet Sect also has a secret teleportation altar hidden in the mountains and forests. You can teleport to that secret place. You'll have to rely on yourself for the rest. Bai Shijin warned. Thank you, Senior Bai, Senior Du, take care of yourselves. Chapter 990. To the west of the Heaven and Earth Mountain, there were more than 10 large regions. These large regions were close to the Chaos region. The West Wind region was one of the large regions close to the Chaos region. Now, the West Wind region was completely under the control of the Emperor Heaven Divine Palace. Some of the important cities had the shadows of the experts from the Emperor Heaven Divine Palace. Especially recently, there were more experts from the Emperor Heaven Divine Palace in the dozen large regions close to the Chaos region. It seems that Martial Emperor Di has taken precautions. He is afraid that I will be teleported out of the Talisman Puppet Sect and head to the central continent. A black-robed youth was flying in the sky above a mountain forest. This black-robed youth was Lu Ming. After he was teleported out of the Talisman Puppet Sect, he appeared in an underground cave. That underground cave was the teleportation array secretly built by the Talisman Puppet Sect. Then, Lu Ming took out the talisman paper that he had prepared to conceal his aura. He stuck it on his body and concealed his aura. He had no choice. Now that he had transferred his spirit fire to the second body, even if he knew the principles and methods, he couldn't inscribe any inscriptions. Then he changed his appearance and changed his clothes. Then he left the underground cave and flew toward the Chaos region. Of course, Dandan was with him. However, this fellow had been staying in the mountain and river diagram, eating spiritual herbs and sleeping. It was called recovery. A group of people flew in front of him. They were the experts from the Emperor Heaven Divine Palace. However, they only glanced at Lu Ming and flew past him. This won't do. It's better to run in the mountain forest. The sky is too big of a target. If I run into someone with a meticulous mind, they might be suspicious. Thinking of this, Lu Ming landed in the mountain forest and ran in the mountain forest. After a few days, Lu Ming arrived at the western border of the West Wind region. There was a large city in front of him. After he left this city, he would enter the Chaos region. I will go to this city to buy some things before entering the Chaos region. I heard that the climate in the Chaos region is very changeable. Some places are extinct. It's best to buy some food and bring it along. Lu Ming thought. With his current cultivation, it wouldn't matter if he didn't eat for a year. However, he would still eat frequently out of habit. Stop. Pass through this array platform. The city gate was guarded by the experts of the Emperor Heaven Divine Palace. Anyone who wanted to enter the city had to pass through an array platform. Lu Ming had learned before that this kind of array platform could test the spiritual fire. If a person who cultivated the Tao of Inscription and had an extremely vigorous spirit flame stepped onto the platform, there would be a reaction. The Emperor Heavenly Divine Palace wanted to trap the Talisman Puppet Sect. They were afraid that the Talisman Puppet Sect's disciples would sneak out. However, Lu Ming was now a pure martial artist without the slightest bit of spiritual fire. Naturally, he easily passed through the array platform and entered the city. Following this, Lu Ming found a market and bought a large amount of resources before leaving the city and heading towards the Chaos Domain. To the majority of martial artists, the Chaos Domain was a forbidden area. Because it didn't just stretch from north to south and separated the central continent from the eastern continent, it was extremely vast as well. Moreover, unknown dangers were hidden within it, and even a domain-enlightened spirit god might perish if they were unlucky. It was said that the terrain of the Chaos Domain was extremely complicated. Deserts, swamps, barren mountains, ghost lands, there was everything one could think of. Moreover, the weather was constantly changing. The sky might be clear one moment, and the next moment, there would be a storm or even flames that would fall from the sky. It was extremely dangerous. There were also some ferocious beasts and evil spirits hidden within. Some were extremely powerful, and even a domain-enlightened spirit god would die if they encountered them. Therefore, no one was willing to enter the Chaos Domain. If one wanted to head to the central continent, they would have to borrow the teleportation formations of the few overlord forces. However, Lu Ming had no choice. He couldn't expose his identity, so he could only move forward and cross over. After leaving the city, his path was unobstructed. After over 100,000 miles, a barren mountain range appeared before his eyes. There wasn't any vegetation on the mountain range, and it was completely barren and covered in bare rocks. He had already arrived at the territory of the Chaos Domain. Lu Ming raised his spirits, slowed down, and flew into the Chaos Domain. As soon as he flew into the barren mountain range, Lu Ming frowned. What a high temperature! The temperature from the sun here is actually tens of times higher than other places. Lu Ming's heart jolted, and he was extremely surprised in his heart. He retreated a few more miles, and the temperature returned to normal. It was just a thin line, but the temperature from the sun was completely different. Lu Ming was secretly amazed. He circulated his vital essence to protect his body and flew forward. After flying for a few thousand miles, a bird cry rang out. A fiery red giant bird appeared and pounced towards Lu Ming like lightning. Before it arrived, a blazing heat wave rushed towards Lu Ming. A ferocious beast of the spirit embryo realm. Lu Ming's heart jolted. He didn't expect to encounter a ferocious beast of the spirit embryo realm as soon as he entered the Chaos Domain. A long spear condensed in his hand, and the long spear pierced through the air. With a poochie sound, the ferocious beast was killed in the air. The power of devouring burst forth and devoured the blood essence of the ferocious beast. What a blazing power! It should be related to the high temperature here. No matter if it was the demonic energy or blood essence of the ferocious beast, they were all incomparably hot like flames. However, under the condensation of the 9 dragons' bloodline, they were quickly refined. Continuing to fly, Lu Ming discovered that there weren't many ferocious beasts here. He would only meet one occasionally, and most of them were below the 8th level of the spirit embryo realm. Lu Ming's devouring had almost no effect on raising his cultivation. After a few 100,000 miles, the desolate mountain range disappeared, and what appeared in front of his eyes was a desert. The boundless desert was a stretch of gold. It stretched as far as the eye could see, and no one knew how big it was. When Lu Ming stepped in, he discovered in astonishment that the temperature here was even more terrifying. It was 10 times higher than the desolate mountain range, and a few 100 times higher than the outside world. Not to mention vegetation, even powerful demonic beasts wouldn't be able to survive here. They would die from the high temperature. However, when Lu Ming entered, he discovered in astonishment that there were actually living creatures living in the desert. Lu Ming saw a type of sandworm. Its shell was like a fiery red diamond, shining resplendently and incomparably hard. After that, Lu Ming saw a centipede that was 100 meters long. It was swallowing and spitting out the essence of the sun, as though it was bathing in flames. The moment it saw Lu Ming, it pounced towards Lu Ming. This centipede was at the level of Great Circle of Spirit Embryo Realm, and its battle power was extremely strong. The flames it spat out seemed to be able to burn everything, and its entire body had a diamond-like shell that was incomparably hard. Its defense was extremely terrifying. This centipede was much stronger than martial arts practitioners at the same level of Great Circle of Spirit Embryo Realm. The flames it spat out could probably easily kill martial arts practitioners at the same level. Lu Ming fought with it for dozens of moves, and only after exploding his dragon power did he manage to kill it. He then kept the entire centipede. This centipede was full of treasures, and if he sold it, he could get quite a lot of origin stones. This desert was truly incomparably vast. For the next 10 days, Lu Ming shuttled through this desert, and he also experienced a few huge battles. 10 days later, Lu Ming looked at the scene in front of him in a daze. Rumble. Chapter 991. Lightning flashed and thunder rumbled. Dark clouds covered the sky. Heavy rain poured down like water splashing down. Below them was a boundless swamp. Lu Ming was really in a daze. The place where he was standing now was clearly a desert. The sun shone down dazzling light, and the temperature was terrifyingly high. But ahead was a curtain of dark clouds and heavy rain. This difference was too great, making Lu Ming somewhat unable to turn around. Chaos Domain lives up to its reputation. Lu Ming sighed and flew forward. Chila. Once he flew into the area of heavy rain, the temperature dropped sharply, returning to normal. But in the sky, a lightning bolt as thick as an arm directly struck towards Lu Ming. Revolving the concept of thunder, a lightning bolt as thick as an arm also burst out, scattering this lightning bolt. In the sky, lightning swam. In the next moment, another lightning bolt struck. Lu Ming revolved the concept of thunder to resist it. What a strong concept of thunder. This is a good place to comprehend the concept of thunder. Lu Ming smiled faintly and was not in a hurry to advance. Instead, he descended to the swamp below. Stepping on the water surface, he slowly advanced while comprehending the concept of thunder. A moment later, Lu Ming suddenly opened his eyes. What a thick aura of the concept of water. The aura of the concept of water here is even stronger than the concept of thunder. Lu Ming thought to himself, his eyes revealing a look of hope. He planned to comprehend the concept of water. Now that the War of Providence was over, there was no rush to raise his cultivation in the short term. Lu Ming planned to use this opportunity to comprehend the concept of water. Anyway, he had the 9 dragons bloodline to devour. Comprehending one more concept would not affect his cultivation speed too much. Moreover, comprehending one more concept, if 5 concepts were merged, the eruption power would definitely be even stronger. After making the decision, Lu Ming closed his eyes and started comprehending. With Providence on his body, Lu Ming's comprehension ability increased by a full 10-fold. He was even more in tune with heaven and earth. His comprehension speed was shockingly fast. First was the concept of water. In just 1 day's time, Lu Ming had successfully comprehended the force of water and reached the entry stage of the force of water. Next, I need to merge the water force with the other wills. There is endless thunder and lightning here. I can use the power of thunder and lightning to merge the wills. Lu Ming thought. He leaped into the air and soared into the sky. Chila, Chila. In the sky, countless lightning bolts bombarded Lu Ming. Lu Ming had unleashed his force of water and 4 other intents. However, as for the other 4 states, Lu Ming did not explode with great power. He only used them for defense. His main purpose was to let the lightning strike the water state and the other 4 states to temper them. Boom, boom, boom. Thunderous rumbles rang out endlessly as lightning struck continuously. The state and power wavered. Not enough. The power of the lightning is not enough. Continue upwards. Lu Ming continued flying upwards. The closer he got to the clouds, the more horrifying the might of the lightning became. It continuously bombarded the state and the power of water. Yes, that's the feeling. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. Now, his comprehension ability had increased 10-fold. Even the speed of merging the wills had greatly increased. He could merge the wills faster and more effectively. Lu Ming used the thunder and lightning to temper continuously. In just 10 days, Lu Ming had successfully merged the force of water and the other 4 intents. This speed was already extremely shocking. After the successful fusion, Lu Ming could continue to improve the force of water. Moreover, he had many water-profound crystals on him. Coupled with the environment here, his horrifying comprehension ability, and the Enlightenment Ancient Tree, Lu Ming's speed of improvement was simply terrifying. It was like sitting on a rocket. Lu Ming cultivated in this area of water as he advanced. 3 days later, Lu Ming condensed the rune of the force of water in one go and raised the force of water to the first level. After that, the speed of improvement kept increasing by leaps and bounds. It was only when the force of water reached the second level that the speed of improvement slowed down. Because at the second level he couldn't purely rely on the profound crystals. Lu Ming stayed in this swamp for another half a month. His force of water had already reached the second level of greater mastery. At this time, Lu Ming crossed the swamp and arrived at an area with an even more complicated terrain. In this area he would encounter swamps filled with poisonous gas, terrifying storms, and even areas filled with blood qi. There was once when he was almost cut in half by a blood-red sword light. That blood-red sword light wasn't released by someone, but rushed out from a blood lake. That sword light had at least reached the level of spiritual god. Lu Ming didn't advance quickly. He cultivated as he hurried along. His purpose of walking out of the talisman puppet sect was to cultivate. Although the chaos domain was a little dangerous, it was still very good for cultivation and could be tempered. During this period he didn't only cultivate the force of water. He also cultivated and comprehended all the other intents. He had some upper-grade profound crystals on him. They were all obtained from his opponents in the War of Providence, such as Luo Tian, Wang Fenshen, and the others. The use of upper-grade profound crystals was much greater than middle-grade spirit stones. Generally speaking, lower-grade profound crystals corresponded to King Realm and were of great help to cultivating a first-level intent. Middle-grade profound crystals corresponded to the spiritual sea realm and were of great help to the second-level intent. Upper-grade profound crystals corresponded to the spiritual embryo realm and were of great help to the third-level intent. As for top-grade profound crystals, they corresponded to the fourth-level intent. Of course, the difficulty of cultivating a third-level intent was extremely high. It wasn't enough to rely on upper-grade profound crystals alone. However, with the help of upper-grade profound crystals, the cultivation speed was still much faster. Just like this, Lu Ming cultivated as he hurried along. He didn't neglect the intent of heaven and earth and his martial skills. The Dandan's perception was very strong. Sometimes, when they encountered powerful existences, they would avoid them. Time passed day by day. In the blink of an eye, it had been 3 months since Lu Ming entered the chaos domain. Along the way, Lu Ming experienced a lot and encountered all kinds of terrains. Even with the Dandan's perception, he still encountered danger more than 10 times. The most dangerous time was when the skies suddenly split open while flying and endless flames poured down. If it wasn't for Lu Ming's sharp perception and quick reaction, he would have been in danger. That was because the flames were extremely terrifying. When they poured down from the sky, they turned everything within 100,000 miles into lava. Lu Ming was drenched in cold sweat. Of course, along the way, Lu Ming's harvest was also great. Wind, fire, and thunder, the 3 intents had all reached the peak of the 3rd level and were beginning to break through to the 4th level. The intent of earth had also reached the peak of the 3rd level. As for the intent of water, it had also broken through the 3rd level and reached the beginning of the 3rd level. For the intent of water to reach this step so quickly was already very terrifying. This was because Lu Ming comprehended it purely by himself and not by devouring the 9 dragons' bloodline. However, his cultivation didn't increase and was still at the early stage of the 8th level of spirit embryo realm. His cultivation needed to wait for the intent of water to catch up with the other intents before it could continue to increase. Chapter 992. Besides the 9 dragons' heaven-trampling steps, Lu Ming cultivated another martial technique. Dazzling Dragon Spear Art. This was a high-grade demigod rank martial technique that Lu Ming had obtained in the Battle of Karmic Luck. During this period of time, Lu Ming was almost on the verge of cultivating it to the highest level. This was the benefit of improving his comprehension ability. Coupled with the fact that he was wholeheartedly cultivating the martial Tao and wasn't distracted by the Tao of inscription, his progress in all aspects was extremely swift. A mountain range appeared ahead. Numerous peaks stood tall on the mountain range, Ancient trees towered into the sky, and the roars of beasts resounded incessantly. He finally encountered a mountain range that was filled with vitality. This place should be close to the central continent. According to the records of the past, I just have to pass through this mountain range to arrive at the central continent. Lu Ming revealed a trace of anticipation in his eyes, but he didn't relax in his heart, because it was said that formidable ferocious beasts lived in the mountain range near the central continent, and some were even capable of tearing domain enlightened spirit gods apart. So, Lu Ming didn't dare let his guard down. Lu Ming restrained his aura and charged into the mountain range. Not long after he charged into the mountain range, Lu Ming encountered the attack of a formidable ferocious beast. Lu Ming killed it and devoured all its demon energy and blood essence. The blood essence was used to improve his bloodline, and the demon energy was used to temper his body. 10 days later, a painting floated within a hidden crack in a rock. It was the mountain river painting, and Lu Ming was cultivating within it. The hell-suppressing steel floated above him, and it flickered with light and shook slightly. 4 golden chakras flickered, but it wasn't long before another golden chakra effused out. The 5th golden chakra, the hell-suppressing steel's bloodline, had attained the 5th level of the god rank. During this period of time, practically all the blood essence that Lu Ming had devoured had been used to improve the hell-suppressing steel's bloodline. Let's see how formidable the hell-suppressing heaven art is now. With a command in his heart, Lu Ming stood up and slapped out with his palm. This space warped rapidly while a mountain in the distance rumbled and collapsed. The improvement doesn't seem to be that terrifying. According to this extent of improvement, if I execute it at full strength, its might should be equivalent to a mid-grade low-grade god rank martial technique. Lu Ming's heart stirred. When the prison-suppressing steel bloodline had been at the 4th level of the divine grade, the power of the prison-suppressing heaven skill had been equivalent to the 1st level of a low-tier divine grade martial skill. Lu Ming had originally thought that after the prison-suppressing steel bloodline had been upgraded to the 5th level of the divine grade, the power of the prison-suppressing heaven skill would be equivalent to the 6th level of a low-tier divine grade martial skill. However, from the looks of it now, it seemed like it had yet to reach the 4th level. Most likely, it would only reach the 6th level of a low-tier god-tier battle technique when he reached the 6th level of a god-tier battle technique. A 7th level divine grade martial skill could reach the level of a high-grade divine grade martial skill. A high-grade divine level martial skill was a martial skill that only sovereigns could successfully cultivate. For some reason, my 3rd bloodline still can't be awakened. At this moment, Lu Ming frowned again. Even now, his 3rd bloodline still hadn't awakened. It was as if it was still in the process of being nurtured, which left Lu Ming speechless. The other prodigies had already awakened their 3rd bloodline. Most prodigies would awaken their 3rd bloodline at the Spirit Sea realm. Only a small number of them would awaken their 3rd bloodline at the Spirit Embryo realm. And now, Lu Ming's cultivation had already reached the 8th level of the Spirit Embryo realm, but his 3rd bloodline still hadn't awakened. This made Lu Ming a little depressed. Could it be that he could only awaken his 3rd bloodline at the Spirit God realm? In history, there were very few people who could awaken their 3rd bloodline at the Spirit God realm. Sigh, forget it. It's useless to think so much. Let nature take its course. I have the 9 dragons bloodline. Even if I can't awaken my 3rd bloodline, I won't be inferior to others. Lu Ming thought to himself. Then he exited the mountain river diagram and continued to advance in the mountain range. Central continent, the easternmost land. It was the chaotic region near the eastern wilderness. On the edge of a majestic and boundless mountain range, there were 2 young women carefully running through the forest. These 2 women were about 20 years old. They looked almost identical, and one could tell at a glance that they were twin sisters. Their skin was like jade, and they were peerlessly beautiful. They were both rare and alluring beauties. But at this moment, their expressions were very solemn. They restrained their auras and moved forward carefully. Ahui, be careful. Don't run too fast. One of the women said softly. Ale, don't worry. This is only the outskirts of the chaotic mountain range. There won't be any ferocious beasts that are too strong. The other woman seemed to be more lively. She smiled lightly and spoke softly. We've already been here for a few days, but we haven't seen the rainbow venomous snake. We don't know where it is. The woman called Ale sighed softly. Ale, do you think we can't find the rainbow venomous snake because we're in the outskirts of the mountain range? If we can't find the rainbow venomous snake, then we can't find the spirit medicine that accompanies the rainbow venomous snake to cure Grandpa's poison. Ale, should we go deeper into the mountain range? Ahui said, yes, that's the only way. But Ahui, don't be rash. Let's slow down a little. Ale said. Then, the two young women carefully walked towards the depths of the mountain range. During this time, they carefully avoided a few powerful ferocious beasts. Suddenly, in the depths of the mountain range, there was an earth-shattering roar of a beast. The beast's roar sounded like a thunderclap. A vast demonic power soared into the sky. A terrifying space crack appeared in the sky. The clouds were directly swallowed by the space crack and disappeared without a trace. Then, the roar sounded again. It seemed to be filled with endless anger. The whole mountain range shook and rumbled loudly. Even though they were very far away, the two young women's faces changed drastically. They suddenly turned snow-white without a trace of blood. This is a level 8 ferocious beast. A level 8 ferocious beast is furious. Ale, let's go quickly. Ahui's voice trembled. She didn't have the courage before. She pulled Ale and ran wildly. At this time, in the mountain range, a group of ferocious beasts roared. They seemed to be very frightened. The two young women were even more shocked. They knew that the king of the mountain range was furious. The ferocious beasts were frightened. They were afraid that many powerful ferocious beasts would flee in all directions. It was very dangerous. The two young women ran out of the mountain range with all their strength. Rumble! There were ferocious beasts fleeing in all directions. Fortunately, these ferocious beasts seemed to be scared out of their wits and ignored the two young women. Therefore, the two young women were not in danger. The earth-shattering roar came from the depths of the mountain forest. It was earth-shattering, and its aura was terrifying. The two young women ran for an hour before they ran out of the mountain range and came to the outside. At this time, the two young women breathed a long sigh of relief. They were safe for the time being. Ale, what's going on? Why did a level 8 ferocious beast suddenly become furious? Seeing that they were out of danger, Ahui's mind was active again. Her big eyes were full of curiosity. I don't know. Ahui, it seems that we can't find the 7-colored poisonous snake. What about Grandpa's poison? Ale sighed. The two young women's eyes dimmed again. Their cultivation was too low. They didn't dare to go too deep into the mountain range. There's someone ahead. Chapter 993. In the mountain forest ahead, a black-robed young man charged out with extreme speed. His entire body was tattered and bleeding. There was a little tortoise on the shoulder of the black-robed young man. The little tortoise's claws were firmly grasping the young man's shoulder while its eyes were rolled back, and its body was twitching. Bang! The black-robed young man's speed was extremely swift as he charged out of the mountain forest, and then he fell heavily on the ground, causing dust to fill the sky. After that, he just lay there like that. Dandan, you almost got me killed this time. The young man lying on the ground spoke weakly. This young man was naturally Lu Ming, who traversed the chaos territory all along the way. At this moment, another 7 days had passed since Lu Ming's hell-suppressing steel bloodline had advanced. Right when they were about to pass through the mountain range and enter the territory of the central continent, they encountered a formidable ferocious beast. It was a second-level grade 8 ferocious beast that was equivalent to the second level of the spirit god realm. Originally, they could have gone around this ferocious beast, but it just so happened that Dandan noticed this ferocious beast was guarding 2 Saint Spirit Ginsengs. These 2 Saint Spirit Ginsengs were top-grade grade 8 spirit herbs, and even a peak spirit god would be tempted upon seeing them. So Dandan was tempted, and he secretly dug out the 2 Saint Spirit Ginsengs. Unexpectedly, he was discovered by that formidable ferocious beast, and that ferocious beast went mad and madly chased after Dandan. In the end, even Lu Ming was implicated. Lu Ming used all his ability to luckily escape the ferocious beast's claws. However, he suffered extremely heavy injuries. Many of his bones were broken, and his internal organs were injured. Moreover, he didn't have much true essence left, and his aura was extremely weak. Dandan wasn't any better. He was almost blasted apart by the ferocious beast a few times, and at this moment, his entire body was twitching incessantly. A spirit god realm existence was truly formidable, and Lu Ming wasn't a match for it at all. Take human martial artists for example. Those that could step into the spirit god realm were at least god-rank geniuses, and most of them were god-rank geniuses that had awakened bloodlines at the second level of the god rank or even at the third level of the god rank. Such geniuses wouldn't have any problem surmounting 2 or 3 realms to fight enemies at the spirit embryo realm. It was the same for ferocious beasts and demonic beasts. They were all existences with a few % of the divine beast bloodline in their bodies. They were incomparably powerful. Coupled with the fact that there was an enormous chasm between the spirit embryo realm and the spirit god realm, Lu Ming's current cultivation was only at the 8th level of the spirit embryo realm, so it was utterly impossible for him to surmount such a huge gap. During the battle of karmic luck all those years ago, the reason Di Shen and the others had been able to stop the peak existences of the three-eyed divine race was because the experts of the three-eyed divine race hadn't completely stepped into the domain enlightened spirit god realm, and they could only be considered to have taken half a step into the domain enlightened spirit god realm. So, Di Shen and the others were able to fight them. Because once a member of the three-eyed divine race completely stepped into the domain enlightened spirit god realm in that world, then they would be suppressed by the laws of that world. If he was a complete spiritual god expert, the arch-god and the others would definitely not be able to stop him. Not to mention that the ferocious beast that Lu Ming faced earlier was equivalent to a second-level spirit god, and it was even more formidable. It was already extremely rare for Lu Ming to be able to escape with his life. Lu Ming, don't blame me. There are 2 Saint Spirit ginsengs, so let's take one each. Dandan's body twitched as he spoke. Lu Ming couldn't be bothered to speak any further with Egg Yi, and he just lay there and closed his eyes to circulate and recuperate. 2 young women were watching curiously from not too far away. "Ale, there's still a voice. He seems to be still alive. Let's go over and take a look? Let's see if we can help him," said Ahui. Yes, Ahui, be careful. Comparatively speaking, Ale seemed to be slightly more timid and shy. The 2 young women carefully approached Lu Ming, and a trace of pity flashed in their eyes when they saw Lu Ming's eyes were closed and his entire body was covered in blood. After sensing carefully, Ahui said, "He seems to be heavily injured, but he's still breathing. He seems to have fainted. Why don't we carry him back to the city? Otherwise, he'll definitely be eaten by ferocious beasts if he stays here by himself." Alright. Ale nodded. The 2 young women were very kind-hearted, and they walked towards Lu Ming. At this moment, Lu Ming suddenly opened his eyes. The 2 young women screamed in fright and hurriedly retreated, their faces pale. Lu Ming smiled bitterly. These 2 young women were really timid. However, they were so timid that they dared to come to this dangerous mountain range. Lu Ming was a little surprised. "Don't be afraid. I mean no harm." Lu Ming forced himself to get up and smiled. Lu Ming scanned them with his mind and found that the cultivation of the 2 young women was at the complete spiritual sea realm. With this cultivation, they could be considered as geniuses in the eastern wilderness. "Ale, don't be afraid. His cultivation should be lower than ours," said Ahui in a low voice. At this moment, Lu Ming's breath was extremely weak, and he gave people the feeling that his cultivation was indeed low, even lower than the 2 young women. Lu Ming naturally heard what she said, but he didn't defend himself. "Were you injured by the demonic beasts in the mountain range? With your cultivation, how dare you go deeper than us? Don't you know it's very dangerous?" said Ahui, blinking her eyes. "I had no choice but to go deeper into the mountain range." Lu Ming casually gave a reason. "Oh, it seems that you also had something important to do in the mountain range. Well, do you know why the level 8 ferocious beast went crazy? Asked Hui curiously. Of course, she didn't know that the level 8 ferocious beast was angry because of Lu Ming. She thought that Lu Ming was injured by some weaker ferocious beast. I don't know either. Lu Ming shook his head. Well, forget it. I see that you're badly injured. Where are you from? Do you need us to send you back? Asked Hui. After chatting for a while, the two young women felt that Lu Ming was not a bad person. They became bolder and approached Lu Ming to chat with Lu Ming. My home is very far from here. I'm afraid I can't go back for the time being, Lu Ming said with a smile. Oh, in that case, why don't you go to Lishui City with us first? Lishui City is the closest to here. It's still not safe here. I don't know if the ferocious beast will go crazy again, said Hui. But thank you very much. Lu Ming pondered for a while and nodded in agreement. Lu Ming had just arrived in the central continent and was unfamiliar with the place. He really needed to find a place to stay temporarily and understand the situation in the central continent before he made his next plan. Moreover, he could also find a place to treat his injuries. It was killing two birds with one stone. What's your name? Asked Hui. I'm Lu Shaoqing. May I know your names? Lu Ming said casually. In the central continent, there were probably spies of the Emperor Deity Palace. Lu Ming did not intend to use his real name. I'm Xiao Hui. You can call me Hui. This is my sister Xiao Lei. You can call her Lei, said Hui. Lu Ming found that Hui was lively and cheerful. She was more talkative, while Lei was much more shy. She did not talk much and just looked at Lu Ming curiously. Hearing Hui's words, Lei whispered, I'm the elder sister. Hui glared at her and said, Lei, you're talking nonsense. I'm the elder sister. I've been taking care of you all this time. Lei retorted in a low voice, but Grandpa said I was born a moment earlier than you. Grandpa is talking nonsense. Humph, I don't care. I'm the elder sister. Lu Shaoqing, just remember that I'm the elder sister. Hui pursed her lips. Chapter 994. Miss Hui, Miss Lei, wait for me for a while. I'll go to Lishui City with you after my injuries have stabilized. Lu Ming said. Well, you heal yourself. We'll keep a lookout for you. Hui said. Then she and Lei walked to the side to keep a lookout for Lu Ming. Lu Ming's lips curled into a smile. He then closed his eyes to recuperate. After this period of cultivation, Lu Ming's body had reached the peak of level 8. His recovery ability was extremely amazing. Combined with the true dragon fighting skill, he began to heal quickly. After half an hour, Lu Ming's injuries had stabilized and his genuine ether had recovered by 20%. Of course, with Hui and Lei's cultivation, they naturally could not see Lu Ming's cultivation realm. Miss Hui, Miss Lei, I'm almost done. We can set off. Lu Ming said. So soon? Hui said with some surprise. My injuries are not too serious. I'll heal myself properly when we reach Lishui City. Lu Ming said. Oh, that's good. Is your little tortoise okay? Hui looked at Dandan on Lu Ming's shoulder. At this time, Dandan was still twitching. It's okay. It'll be fine after twitching for a while. Lu Ming said casually. This made Dandan gnash its teeth. What did he mean by, it'll be fine after twitching for a while? Then, the three of them rose into the air and left for Lishui City. After flying for tens of thousands of miles, what appeared in front of them were rivers and lakes dotted on the ground. Looking from the sky, they looked like pearls. This was a water town. The three of them chatted as they hurried along. Lu Ming had a rough idea of where this place was. The most powerful force in this water town was Floating Mountain. Floating Mountain was an overlord force in Jianghu State. In fact, Lu Ming had a rough understanding of Jianghu State before he came to Jianghu State. The middle continent was vast and boundless. It was at least 7 or 8 times larger than the eastern wilderness. Furthermore, it was a blessed land with countless grotto heavens and blessed lands. The heaven and earth spiritual chi was rich, and cultivation flourished there. Throughout history, there were countless geniuses and experts. It was the center of the divine wilderness continent. In the Middle Continent, the Eastern Wilderness could not compare to the number and quality of geniuses. The Central Continent ancient Saint dynasty was undoubtedly the oldest and largest force in the Central Continent. In fact, Central Continent was completely under the rule of the ancient Sage dynasty tens of thousands of years ago. The ancient Sage dynasty had been around for a long time. Legend had it that it had been around for 1,000,000 years. For the past 1,000,000 years, the Central Continent had been under the rule of the ancient Sage dynasty. The Central Continent had been prosperous and powerful. There were many geniuses and experts, far above the Eastern Wilderness. By then, not only the Middle Continent, but even the Eastern Wilderness, Nanming, and other territories would have to submit to the ancient Saint dynasty. However, all of this changed drastically tens of thousands of years ago. Tens of thousands of years ago, an invincible figure had appeared in the Xie clan of the ancient Saint dynasty. He had started a rebellion, and the ancient Saint dynasty had experienced an unprecedented civil war. That war was earth-shattering. Countless experts had died, and even many sovereigns had fallen. After that war, the strength of the ancient Saint dynasty's royal family declined rapidly. They could no longer control the vast territory of the Central Continent. After that, the Central Continent entered the era of the sovereigns. For tens of thousands of years, various overlords had ruled over a region and fought for supremacy. Outside of these overlords, there were countless smaller forces that relied on the overlords and fought endlessly. Now, the Central Continent was even more chaotic than the Eastern Wilderness. The Floating Mountain sect occupied a vast territory in the eastern part of the Central Continent. They were the overlords of a region, and they had sovereigns. They were extremely powerful and were not weaker than forces like the Emperor Heaven Divine Palace and the Heavenly Corpse sect. Lishui City was a city under the jurisdiction of the Floating Mountain sect. The Shao clan, where Ahui and Ale were from, was a small clan in Lishui City. The Shao sisters were very innocent and did not have any ulterior motives. They felt that Lu Ming was a good person, so they treated Lu Ming as a friend. Whatever Lu Ming asked, they would answer. During the conversation, Lu Ming learned that their mother had passed away after they were born. A few years ago, their father had also fallen while adventuring outside. Now, they had been following their grandfather, Shao Zhan, the patriarch of the Shao clan. However, some time ago, Shao Zhan entered the Chaos Mountain range in search of a kind of spiritual medicine. He did not expect to be bitten by a seven-colored poisonous snake and was still unconscious. The reason why the two sisters came to the Chaos Mountain range was to find the seven-colored poisonous snake's nest and the accompanying spiritual medicine of the seven-colored poisonous snake to save Shao Zhan. Unfortunately, after searching for many days, they did not even find a trace of the seven-colored poisonous snake. Later, they met Lu Ming. "Maybe I can save your grandfather's poison," Lu Ming said. This made the Shao sisters pause. Their eyes widened as they said, "You can really save him?" The alchemist said that the poison had already spread throughout my grandfather's body. Unless there's the accompanying spiritual medicine of the seven-colored poisonous snake, it would be hard to save him. As they said this, the eyes of the two sisters started to turn red again. I have cultivated a kind of secret technique before. I have some experience in detoxification, Lu Ming said. The Nine Dragons bloodline could swallow all kinds of poison. If someone was poisoned, it could also swallow the poison out. Really? You can't side with us? Ahui's eyes were filled with hope. The two sisters looked at Lu Ming without blinking. Lu Ming nodded his head solemnly. That's great. The two sisters beamed with joy. 2 days later, Lishui City appeared in front of their eyes. Lishui City was very grand. Even though it couldn't be compared to Nine Dragons City, which was a colossus, it was still extremely vast. On the streets, people walked to and fro. All of them were in high spirits. There were a lot of experts. Just by strolling through one street, Lu Ming had already discovered quite a number of strong practitioners of spirit embryo realm. On both sides of the street, there were many shops. Lu Ming looked around curiously. The customs of the Central Continent were very different from the East Desolation. It was filled with exotic customs. After passing through a few streets, a huge mansion appeared in front of them. He had arrived at the Xiao family. The two sisters were the precious granddaughters of the Xiao family's patriarch. Naturally, they didn't stop him. Lu Ming followed the two sisters and entered the Xiao family. However, when they walked past a courtyard, they were stopped by a young man. The young man was about 25 or 26 years old. He wore a sapphire green long robe with a jade belt around his waist and golden boots on his feet. Xiao Ning. Seeing this young man, the two sisters frowned slightly. Ah Hui, Ah Lei, where have you been these few days? The young man asked. Where we go is none of your business. Ah Hui curled her lips and said, None of my business? Don't you know that the two of you are now related to the future of the Xiao family? If anything happens to you, you won't be able to bear the consequences. Xiao Ning's gaze turned cold as he said, what future of the Xiao family? It's your future. Ah Hui mocked. I can't be bothered to talk to you. Xiao Ning opened the fan in his hand and gently waved it. He then turned his gaze towards Lu Ming and frowned. Who is this person? Ah Hui, don't bring any Tom, Dick or Harry into the family. If others know, they will laugh at you. This is my and Ah Lei's friend. He is here to treat his injuries. You can't do anything about it. Also, Big Brother Lu can cure grandfather's poison. When the time comes, he will be an important guest of the Xiao family. Chapter 995. Lu Ming stood at the side and watched quietly without making a sound. Ah Lei explained to him in a low voice that this person was their second uncle's son and their cousin. Their relationship with the two of them was not good. He can cure grandfather's poison? Nonsense. Many alchemists couldn't cure him. How can this kid cure him? Don't be fooled by this kid. Xiao Ning raised his eyebrows and said loudly, Brother Lu is our friend. Why would he lie to us? If we don't let Brother Lu try, how would we know that Brother Lu can't do it? All right, get out of the way. With that, Ah Hui pulled Lu Ming, bypassed Xiao Ning, and walked inside. Xiao Ning's face was gloomy. Ah Hui brought Lu Ming around a few courtyards and finally came to a guest room. She said, Brother Lu, you can stay here and heal your injuries. When you're better, it won't be too late to cure grandfather's poison. All right. Lu Ming nodded. After chatting for a while, the two sisters bid farewell and left. Lu Ming walked into the room and closed the door. He sat cross-legged on the bed and began to heal his injuries. The battle dragon true essence circulated throughout his body and seeped into the depths of his body. Lu Ming's injuries were quickly recovering. In fact, during the 2 days on the road, Lu Ming's body was automatically recovering. Up until now, he had recovered a lot. Bang. 10 minutes later, while Lu Ming was healing his injuries, the door was pushed open. A youth stood at the door with a cold face. Lu Ming's body trembled slightly. He opened his eyes and a cold light flashed in his eyes. Xiao Ning, the one who pushed open the door was Xiao Ning. Fortunately, Lu Ming's control was strong enough. He also paid attention and didn't put all his heart into it. Otherwise, if he was suddenly disturbed during his cultivation, he would be injured at best. At worst, he would go berserk. What do you want? Lu Ming asked. Kid, what is your purpose in coming to the Xiao family? Could it be that you want to deceive Ah Hui and Ah Lei because they are innocent? Let me tell you, if you have this idea, you are wrong. Desolate Ning said coldly. Brother Xiao, you've misunderstood me. I'm friends with Ah Hui and Ah Lei, and I'm injured, so I want to use the Xiao family to heal. I happen to know some detoxification methods. I heard that the old master of the Xiao family was poisoned by the colorful snake, so I want to see if I can help detoxify him. Lu Ming cupped his fists and explained with a smile. Shut up. Who do you think you are? Do you think you're worthy of being my brother? Don't think that I don't know that you want to get close to those two girls because they are beautiful and pure. No way. You'd better leave the Xiao family quickly, or else. Desolate Ning sneered. Xiao Ning, what are you doing? Following that, two beautiful figures appeared. They were Ah Hui and Ah Lei. Xiao Ning, Big Brother Lu is our friend. If you let him go again, I'll get angry. Ah Hui gritted her teeth and said as the two sisters walked over. Seeing the sisters coming over, Xiao Ning knew that he had missed the opportunity. He snorted coldly, waved his sleeves and strode away. I heard that Xiao Ning was coming here. I knew that something bad was going to happen. Fortunately, we arrived in time. Big brother Lu, are you alright? Ah Hui asked with concern. I'm fine. Lu Ming smiled. Well, I'll have someone keep an eye on Xiao Ning for the next few days. If he comes again, I'll definitely get angry with him. Have a good rest. After that, the two sisters said goodbye to Lu Ming. Lu Ming went back to his room and continued to cultivate and heal his injuries. After that, no one disturbed Lu Ming. 3 days later, Lu Ming's injuries were completely healed. As for Dandan, he was thrown into the mountain river diagram and let him recover on his own. Dandan's vitality was extremely tenacious, so nothing bad would happen to him. After Lu Ming recovered, he found Ah Hui and Ah Lei and went to their grandfather's room. Old Master Xiao lived in the Xiao family's main residence. When the three of them arrived at the main residence, they were stopped. One of them was Xiao Ning, and the other was a middle-aged man in his 50s with a cold expression. Second uncle. Ah Hui's expression changed slightly. That man was Ah Hui's second uncle, Xiao Hongyun. Old Master Xiao had 2 sons. One was Ah Hui and Ah Lei's father, and the other was Xiao Hongyun. Ah Hui, Ah Lei, that's where father is recuperating. Why did you bring a stranger here? Xiao Hongyun said with a straight face. Ah Lei trembled slightly and took a step back. Apparently, she was a little afraid of Xiao Hongyun. Ah Hui was much bolder. She took a step forward and said, Second uncle, this is our friend, Lu Xiaoqing. Big brother Lu can cure Grandpa's poison, so we brought him here to help Grandpa cure the poison. Nonsense. Xiao Hongyun waved his sleeves and snapped, How many alchemists and herbalists have we hired? We've tried all kinds of methods, but none of them could cure your grandfather's poison. How could this kid cure your grandfather? You 2 little girls don't know how dangerous the world is. Be careful not to be deceived. Second uncle, you think too much. Brother Lu won't deceive us. Why don't we let him try? We won't lose anything. Ah Hui argued strongly. Xiao Hongyun's face darkened slightly. He looked at Lu Ming and said, Kid, are you an inscriber? Lu Ming said indifferently. He had thought that since he had just arrived, he should be polite to them. Moreover, he did not argue with the Xiao family for the sake of Ah Hui and Ah Lei. However, Xiao Hongyun and his son had repeatedly made things difficult for him and spoke unkindly. Lu Ming could not help but feel a little angry and his tone was not pleasant. Since you're not an inscriber, how dare you say that you can cure my father? What a joke. Hurry up and leave the Xiao family. I won't pursue this matter. Xiao Hongyun laughed contemptuously and waved his hand. Who said that only an inscriber can cure a poison? I have a secret technique that can easily cure the poison. Lu Ming said. Nonsense. Shameless boasting. Xiao Ning interrupted sarcastically. We believe in brother Lu. Moreover, second uncle also said that so many alchemists have been invited during this period, but none of them could cure Grandpa's poison. Are we just going to leave him alone and let him die? At this moment, we have to seize any chance. I must let brother Lu try. If you're worried, you can watch from the side. Ah Hui said with a firm gaze. Ah Lei also stepped forward and stared at Xiao Hongyun boldly. Xiao Hongyun frowned and pondered for a moment before saying, Okay, let him try. We'll watch from the side. However, just now, an alchemist came and fed father an antidote pill. We'll observe the situation for today. If father doesn't get better by tomorrow, let this kid try. Hey, tomorrow it is. Ah Hui was overjoyed. Also, don't run around these few days. After a few days, pack your things and follow me to the floating mountain to see young Master Ling Yunkong. Xiao Hongyun's tone changed. Hearing this, Ah Hui and Ah Hui's expressions changed drastically. No, I won't go to the floating mountain to see Ling Yunkong even if I die. Ah Hui shouted. Nonsense. Who is young Master Ling Yunkong? He's a peerless genius of the floating mountain. He's one of the top 10 young geniuses of the floating mountain. His talent is peerless and rare. It's your fortune that he took a fancy to you. Don't you know how to cherish it? Let me tell you, this is related to the future of the Xiao family. You can't throw a tantrum. You have to go even if you don't want to. After 7 days, follow me. After saying this, Xiao Hongyun waved his sleeves and strode away. Chapter 996. Ah Hui and Ah Lei's eyes were red, and tears were rolling in their eyes. Ah Hui, Ah Lei, what's going on? Lu Ming asked. It's all because of Xiao Ning. He wants to give us to Ling Yunkong for his own future. Ah Hui wiped her tears and explained to Lu Ming. Xiao Ning was also a disciple of the Floating Mountain sect. However, the Floating Mountain sect was a colossus with many geniuses. Xiao Ning's talent was average, and he was just an ordinary disciple in the Floating Mountain sect. He was not valued at all. However, he was good at flattering people. He used some unknown method to get acquainted with Ling Yunkong, one of the top 10 geniuses of the Floating Mountain sect. He ran errands for Ling Yunkong. Once, Xiao Ning brought Ling Yunkong to the Xiao clan as a guest. The Xiao clan was naturally shocked and held a big banquet to welcome Ling Yunkong. At the banquet, Ling Yunkong took a fancy to Ah Hui and Ah Lei. Xiao Ning naturally introduced them to such a good thing. Ling Yunkong was a peerless genius of the Floating Mountain sect. Even in the Battle of Providence in the Central Continent, he had achieved good results. Which girl didn't like geniuses and worshipped peerless geniuses? Ah Hui and Ah Lei were naturally the same. They naturally agreed to get acquainted with Ling Yunkong. However, later they found out that Ling Yunkong wanted to marry both of them. Yes, both of them. This made Ah Hui and Ah Lei greatly disappointed in Ling Yunkong. Later, they learned that Ling Yunkong was licentious and lecherous. He had already married 7 or 8 concubines. In this way, the two sisters naturally disagreed. However, Xiao Ning finally managed to climb up the big tree that was Ling Yunkong. How could he miss such a rare opportunity? As long as Ling Yunkong married the two sisters, he would definitely be heavily rewarded. Then Xiao Ning would be able to rise up in the Floating Mountain sect. Therefore, Xiao Ning and Xiao Hongyun had been trying to find a way to marry the two sisters to Ling Yunkong. However, Xiao Zhan, the old master of the Xiao clan, strongly opposed this matter. This matter had been delayed. Now that Xiao Zhan was poisoned and unconscious, how could Xiao Ning and Xiao Hongyun miss this opportunity? Naturally, they began to urge the two sisters to marry Ling Yunkong. Lu Ming nodded, suddenly understanding. No wonder the relationship between the two sisters and Desolate Ning was so bad. So this was the reason why. The three of them chatted for a while before returning to their rooms. Xiao Hongyun and Xiao Ning walked around several courtyards, chatting with each other. Father, why did you agree to let that brat detoxify Grandpa? If that brat really detoxifies Grandpa's poison with his bad temper, he will definitely oppose us giving Ah Hui and Ah Lei to Ling Yunkong. Xiao Ning said anxiously. Why are you in such a hurry? The 7-colored poisonous snake is extremely rare and its venom is very special. Now, the venom has spread throughout the old man's body and seeped into the depths of his muscles, bones, and blood. We've invited so many alchemists and pharmacists, but they were all helpless. How can that brat cure the poison? In my opinion, that brat has taken a fancy to Ah Hui and wants to show off in front of them. When he fails to cure the poison tomorrow, we'll find a reason to kick him out of the Xiao clan. Xiao Hongyun said. Father is right. Desolate Ning smiled happily. A day passed quickly. On the second day, Old Master Zhao's poison showed no signs of subsiding. On the afternoon of the second day, Lu Ming, Ah Hui and Ah Lei, Xiao Hongyun and Xiao Ning walked towards Old Master Zhao's room. Opening the door, Lu Ming saw an old man lying on the bed. The old man looked to be in his 60s. He was tall and sturdy, but his breath was weak. His body was covered with colorful lights. The 7 colors covered his entire body. It was very strange. This was the 7-colored poisonous snake's poison. Grandpa, Ah Hui and Ah Lei saw Xiao Zhan's appearance and their hearts ached. Their eyes reddened and tears flowed down uncontrollably. The 7-colored poisonous snake's poison has spread to every part of his body, even to the depths of his muscles, bones, and blood. Lu Ming's expression changed slightly. The old man was deeply poisoned. If not for his profound cultivation, he would have died long ago. Even so, he wouldn't be able to hold on for long. Lu Ming predicted that the old man would die in a month at most. "Brother Lu, are you sure you can save my grandpa?" Ah Hui said with a sobbing tone. "I'll try my best," Lu Ming said and walked over to Xiao Zhan. Lu Ming waved his hand. True essence spread out and lifted Xiao Zhan's body. Xiao Zhan sat up on the bed. Lu Ming sat cross-legged behind Xiao Zhan. His palm pressed against Xiao Zhan's back, and his devouring power erupted. The devouring power wrapped around Xiao Zhan's body, seeping into every inch of his skin, bones, and flesh. Ah Hui and Ah Lei, as well as Xiao Hongyun and his son, for pairs of eyes were fixed on Lu Ming. However, the four of them were worried about different things. Ah Hui and Ah Lei were worried that Lu Ming wouldn't be able to cure Xiao Zhan's poison. Xiao Hongyun and his son were worried that Lu Ming would be able to cure Xiao Zhan's poison. The poison is retreating. Suddenly, Ah Hui's eyes lit up and her voice trembled. First, they saw the multicolored spots on Xiao Zhan's face slowly fade, as if something was sucking them out of his body. How is this possible? Xiao Hongyun and Xiao Ning's faces changed drastically, revealing a look of disbelief. Could Lu Ming really be able to cure Xiao Zhan's poison? Their eyes flashed with various kinds of light, and they looked a little cold. As for Ah Hui and Ah Lei, they were overjoyed. They held their hands tightly, looking hopefully at Lu Ming and Xiao Zhan. As time passed, the multicolored spots on Xiao Zhan's face faded, and his aura grew stronger. Half an hour later, the multicolored spots on Xiao Zhan's face had completely disappeared. The multicolored spots on his body had also disappeared. Xiao Zhan's breathing calmed down, and one could even hear his heartbeat. Lu Ming let out a long breath and stopped devouring. Xiao Zhan's poison was unexpectedly difficult to cure. It had seeped into every inch of his body. Even with the devouring power of the 9 dragons' bloodline, it still took half an hour. Fortunately, Xiao Zhan's poison was completely devoured by the 9 dragons' bloodline and refined into nothingness. "Big brother Lu, my grandfather's poison?" Ah Hui asked with some concern. "Your grandfather's poison has been completely removed, and he will wake up soon. However, Senior Xiao has been poisoned for so many days, and his body is very weak. I'm afraid it will be difficult for him to recover to his peak in a short time. He will need some time to recuperate." Lu Ming smiled. "The poison is gone? That's great, that's great. The poison is gone. Thank you, Big Brother Lu." Ah Hui was beaming with joy, and she was extremely excited. Ah Lei was the same, and her eyes were full of joy. However, Xiao Hongyun and his son were the complete opposite. There was no trace of a smile, and their eyes were gloomy. Lu Ming got up and got off the bed. Suddenly, Xiao Zhan's body trembled, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. Then he slowly opened his eyes. "Grandfather is awake. Grandfather is awake. Grandfather." You're tuning in to the Han Li's Immortal Journey YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.